Fish, baby.
Fish?
Gotta
eat fish. We're live. Welcome to another episode of Tuesday Night Live on the 10 Horse Money YouTube channel. And we got the killer bees, man. You guys like the thumbnail with the little bees that I put on there?
I know.
Good.
Those are actually killer bees, too. I did my research. They're genuine killer bees. Yeah. Good times.
Come up with that name.
Don't mess with those.
Yeah. Who came up with that?
I think Caps.
Okay.
Yeah, Angry Pirate.
Hashtag Angry Pirate. Yeah. He seems like a pretty interesting guy to hang out with.
Oh, yeah. Good dude.
He's Angry Pirate, but he ain't very angry.
Yeah, he seems like a big teddy bear.
He might be a pirate, but he's not angry.
Yeah. He's still doing Is he still doing the Does he do winter tournaments?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think he's going to start them in October, like on the Tuesdays.
Okay.
At a Gravois mill.
Okay, cool. Those are fun, man. I like those little just fruit jar jackpot tournaments.
Right.
Yeah. They're good times.
Yeah, so I posted a question, what's working for you now to the viewers? And we're kind of all over the place. We got a big worm. We got another big worm out deep. Stephanie says the grub. She's a grub fisherman. That's a sneaky little bait that not a lot of people fish anymore. Just like on a ball head or on a Texas rig or whatever. Just
Mike says shaky head, lost a giant on it.
Yeah, we got a shaky head.
Crankbait from Doug.
Yep, a little bit of everything. So let's just dive right into team tournament fishing. You want to do team tournament fishing, or you want to do invitational?
I just want to talk about fishing. I haven't
really
seen a boat, I cleaned out my boat on Saturday. If that counts for anything. Like, you
haven't been in the water in a while, have you?
You're
a busy man though. Coaching baseball
and preparing for bow season this year, trying to get some stands put together and go do a little bit of early season scouting. But yeah, that's kind of my jam right now. So I'm waiting for that weather to finally break, the water temperature start to drop, and that push of the fall.
When do you guys think that starts happening? Like that fall?
On Truman a little bit. It's happening on Truman right now. You can catch them dirt shallow right now.
Yeah, it seems like
the shad. The shad are definitely there to push. They're pushing up shad right now. Okay. I think even Ozarks. The river bite's been, from the results, it looks like there's a river bite. So that means the fall deal's starting to happen.
Yeah.
You think that's more dependent, kind of like the spawn on the time of day, the
length of the day,
or is it water temperature?
I have no idea. The shad movement is all I think of. Once you start seeing a bunch of shad, then it's happening.
It's oxygen level in that water, I think.
Yeah.
Whenever you start, like you just said, whenever you start seeing the shad, kind of like you can drive across the bridge in the evenings on Truman, and it'd be dead slick calm, and the shad will be all over the top right now, and that's because of the oxygen level. I have no idea what makes it do that, but it's just, that's my opinion on it. I don't know if it has. I think it happens earlier than a lot of people think. Like you just said, you can catch them dirt shallow and the water will be super hot, but for some reason that top layer up there, it's the fish are up there.
That's going on around here too. The last couple of weeks I've been out on the lake. You got a bunch of little small pods of shad that are all broken up, and they're all up on the surface. It's nuts. I was coming back to the boat ramp the other night, and it looked like I was in a river. I'm on a small lake. It looked like I was in a river. There were so many shad. Unbelievable, man. Really? Unbelievable. Just millions and millions and millions of shad. Just, you see they're in little groups of about, I don't know, 50 to 100 or something, but every 10 feet, there's a group of them. They're just kind of everywhere, swirling on top of the water. And to me, it can make the fishing a little bit tough. I guess it's just too much for them to look at.
Shout out VP.
Oh, thanks for radio. I got it now. Nice. Daniel wants to know, what's the water temps on Truman right now?
Anywhere from I'd say unless you go into the middle towards the back of a creek, 78 to 81. I would say average on the Garmin, which Garmin generally reads a little lighter. So like 82 to 84 on a Lowrance.
Yeah. I saw 93 last week over here. Surface temps.
Holy.
Yeah, I got minnows at Sterrett Creek, which the marina's, it's a pretty flat creek back there, and it's, I'd say, halfway back, and it was 90 at the marina when I was getting minnows.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane. I'm sure. I mean, I went Sunday and it was 83. Same lake that it was 93 like a week and a half ago. Of course, I mean, that's surface temps, obviously.
It's definitely dropping, though. It was like 5. Now it's down, like he said, 78 to 82 kind of deal.
Yeah. So when you guys are fishing a team tournament, what's your strategy for practice? How do you guys approach practice? Do you separate and kind of basically each person pick a section of the lake, or do you guys just jump in the boat together, or what? How do you approach that?
I'd say both. We jump in the boat together and kind of hit stuff where we think they're going to be, and then if they're there, then we divide and fish a bunch of junk, trying to find something new.
Yeah. Brad,
now we've been fishing so much solo that now we just fish solo for the most part, and then team deal, just get in there and go to town.
Yeah. Well, it helps.
Definitely, like different times of the year definitely makes a difference. Like if we have a tournament in the fall, we're in 2 separate boats, like going 2 completely different directions for a couple days. But like you get us in the wintertime or the summertime here, we don't practice very much. Like we might go out for fun in the winter or like kind of look for ourselves in a solo deal. But like those Bass and Bob winter series, we get a lot of crap because everybody thinks we're out there every single day, which we go have fun, but we're not fishing where we fish every single day. Like I think we practiced like a day and a half maybe before those tournaments last year, and then just kind of made good decisions and caught fish in those deals. But we don't sit there and burn stuff to the ground in practice. Like we try to, like he said, go look for something else. And if we find something great, but we're not afraid to not catch anything in practice, because we're like, all right, we'll just go do our thing where we normally catch them. And
in practice, you're probably, if you guys are, even if you're fishing together or dividing and conquer, you're looking for that needle in the haystack, right? You're looking for that one juice hole that we're going to go over there and we're going to get right in a hurry, or we know that there's going to be a big one living here and it's going to anchor our bag.
Man, it's so crazy because there's most of our tournaments that we've done really, really well in or won in. I feel like it's come off like 1 to 3 spots, like you said. Like we might catch fish everywhere we go, but like 1 to 3 spots is the spot. Like we won a team deal, the Heartland deal, and we won off 1 spot. Like we had nothing until, I mean, middle of the day, and then we pulled up on 1 spot and had like 18 something pounds in an hour. So it's like if we're spread way out, then we can catch them, but it doesn't seem like we're as efficient doing that.
Yeah. Well, so when you say like 1 spot, do you mean
it's not
just a little area?
Yeah. We're talking a big area that we just mill around in.
Yeah.
So Rich,
it ain't just a tiny spot where we're making consecutively like
not
just
like a
line cast. It's work the whole area.
Yeah, right.
Correct. Same in the winter.
Makes sense. I gotta give a shout out to Scotty Edwards right there. He caught
he had a big one.
Yeah, he had a 7 something out of Crab Orchard. High sevens out of Crab Orchard.
78 pounder.
Yeah, it was it was a stud. Yes, exactly. It was a stud. And he said he missed a bigger one right before that too. Flipping a secret bait of some sort. He didn't show the picture of the bait though. Isn't that funny?
I don't know how that works.
Yeah, never did. He just said flipping.
We had a bait in our back pocket for years and years and years, like that.
What's that?
I'm not even gonna talk about it.
Oh, okay.
See how that works?
You have to tell me after the stream, man.
It's about to come into play. Let's just put it that way.
So that happens a lot where you guys are out just kind of eliminating water. And do you feel like most of the time, do you have like a starting spot? You know, Burhorse is always talking about having a starting spot. Do you guys have like a starting spot typically, or do you just kind of figure that out in the morning before you take off, or how's that work?
We definitely don't figure it out in the morning because we literally get to the boat ramp, or think about it in the morning. We get to the boat ramp and they're taking off. So we're always, even when we're boat one, it's just like, all right, we got to go. But I mean, yes and no. I guess the winter series, we kind of have a starting spot 99% of the time because we're boat one. But like team tournaments here, we're last boat, to where if somebody's around in an area, there's times we don't even go to a spot because we don't want to show people. It's like, we're like, all right, we'll wait like 20 minutes or something because we know that's not going to get hit. So they leave or whatever. It's like, all right, we're good to go. We've definitely done that before.
Yeah. And usually it's three, like we got 3 or 4 spots in the back of our head, and we're just like, all right, at the no wake buoy, we're like, let's do this one, and just go there and see, probably catch nothing on the first stop.
That's happened a lot.
Yeah.
Who's the one that's always late in the morning then?
Both of us.
I would say I am not late. But we can't say we're late because if like Bass and Bob is a prime example. There's been more times than not he lets us out a little earlier. So it's supposed to be 8 o'clock takeoff, and we've pulled in at like 7:53, and then we go check in, and it's like 7:56, and he's calling boat one, and we're idling up in there to go take off. It's like, Bob, it's 8 o'clock, not 7:56. So we wouldn't even be late. But there's been a couple of times where we're backing the boat in and we've missed our boat number. But
I love the fact that you call that 7:52 is early.
It's a tournament director's fault, man.
Early.
Yeah.
hey,
I'm like 7:52. I am scrambling to get down. I mean, I'm on edge and pins and needles at that point.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of times it's not ideal, but we kind of just do it.
You got to get your stress out of the way before you start fishing.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. You're not sitting in the boat thinking about it. You're just boom, 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 and there you go.
Exactly. The guys that show up an hour early, I mean, they got all the time in the world to think about what could go wrong today, you know?
Yeah.
You don't want to put any more hours on those motors anyway while you're just sitting there.
No.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite deals this year was our buddy Harlan. He got boat number 1, and he asked us what time we would leave to get there on time. And we told him a time, and he shows up like 15 minutes before, or because those boat lines, they take forever when you're by yourself. Like we're talking an hour to back everybody in because nobody's there to pull the trailer out of the water or anything like that. So he's boat 1, and I literally watched him back his boat in the water, go through boat check and idle right to the boat to Ramey. And he called boat number 1 as he was idling. And we get back home. He's like, I am never listening to you guys again. I was like, you were on time. You did it perfect. You went right through boat check and took off. I was like, that's perfect. He's like, no, never again am I listening to you guys.
That's just being
my stress level would be right here.
That's just being efficient, being ultra efficient with your time. You're not wasting time.
No
Life is short, man. We only got so many minutes to live. I mean, we might as well get every last minute out of it. You know?
Well, most people are sleeping at that point. If they're being, I mean, you're not up and thinking, I'll be 8 minutes to spare. Like you're not sitting around drinking a cup of coffee. I'm sure you guys are getting out of bed and rolling in the morning.
Yeah, I think that's the main deal is whoever decided to make tournaments go at 6 a.m. is crazy because we got to get up at 4:30 and 5 o'clock every time. It's like, all right, we just practiced 3 days for 16 hours straight. I'd like to sleep for maybe 5 hours. So I guess that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
You need that 10 o'clock start time, that 11 o'clock start time.
Yeah.
Only when we start catching them anyway.
That's like, what was it? The NPFL when they were down on.
That was the last one, wasn't it?
Yeah, they said like a 10 o'clock start time or 10:30 start time.
I saw that. I wasn't sure.
Was that just because of them like running water at 10 or something?
That had a lot to do with it. Yep, that had a lot to do with it. But hell, you're weighing in at like 7 o'clock, 7:30. I think the last flight's whatever. I don't know what 8 hours is. I can't do math right now. It's too late in the evening. But
It was
late
definitely
weigh-in.
late in the day, and we had
what, Mike Corbishley?
Yeah, we had Mike on afterwards, and it was the fact of like your brain's thinking 3 o'clock is check-in, right? It doesn't matter if you took off at 10 or if you took off at, because we've all been in a fog delay.
Yeah, the sun's starting to come down a little bit, and you still got 3 hours of derby time, you know?
Yeah. At your check-in, what you're thinking check-in time at 3 o'clock, you still got 4 hours to fish.
Yeah. Heck yeah. That's how it should be.
I think it'd be fun.
10 to 6.
I would like to sleep in. I've been
I think the winter derbies would be better at that point than the
I think
like, I don't know if I'd want a summer derby, like getting off the water at 7, because that 3 to 7 is hot in the summer.
That's kind of what Bob does. They're 8 to they're like 7.5 hour tournaments, and we take off at 8. So
yeah, most of our winter tournaments around here, we take off at 8 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Gives the dock enough time to thaw out just a little bit before you bust your ass walking across it. So
yeah, or you pull up to the boat ramp and your good buddies, the VP and Anton, have a strap on the back of the boat, and they're sitting there trying to take it off the trailer the whole time, and it's one strap back, and the boat's swinging out there over the side of the trailer. And it's
man, I've done that.
I have to.
I've done that.
Put up at the same time as us, and we have no room for air. Otherwise, we're going to be late. And they're over there at the boat ramp trying to get the boat unstrapped in 38-degree water.
Did they have to get out in the water?
I have no idea. We had to leave.
You didn't offer to help, huh?
We had to go. We were running out of time. 7:52 is around the corner.
John says 9 to 2 with a buffet afterwards.
Yeah,
that's pretty close to that in the winter.
You get the coffee and donuts in the morning at least.
Yeah, and he always has food.
Yeah,
that's right. You got dogs in the evening.
Those winter series, he's had like
brisket and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, really? Okay, I haven't. Obviously, I haven't been there for those.
He doesn't miss.
Yeah, he's
we're lucky to get like a lukewarm hot dog after some of our derbies.
Bag of potato chips, maybe. Yeah, I've had talking about people that like to get to the boat ramp early. As a co-angler and a BFL, I mean, every once in a while you'll get a 7 o'clock starting time, and the guy wants you to meet him there at like 5:30 or 5 or 5:15, and it's like I really don't want to just sit out in the boat for an hour and 20 minutes and just sit there. So you negotiate. And hopefully he's got somebody to put him in, or he's coming from another ramp, so you don't have to meet him there at that.
At the end of the day, like I fish enough BFLs, and you have too, and so have you guys. Like the best one is 15 minutes to go. Like there's no boat, there's no line at that point. Everybody else is out there. You pull in, you back down the ramp, and you're gone. Now parking may be at a premium, but like
it depends on the lake too. Like Lake of the Ozarks at PB2, man. It can be a cluster down there. I mean, I've seen it, especially in the evening, trying to pull your boat out. Some of those tournaments, it's like 2 hours after the tournament, you're still trying to pull your boat out.
Yeah.
Pretty nuts.
Sure is fun.
Yep. Just gonna see if there's any questions on here yet. Have you seen anything pop in here?
I haven't.
No. Everybody's just
listening to
what's up.
The 2 goats that we have.
Yeah, that's right.
Plus the cats and the fish that we're eating. So
all right, next question. Next official question. What's the most important quality in a tournament partner?
A good net man.
Having fun.
Having fun.
I like your answer, Brad.
So like you got that covered. There's something to be said about a good net man, though, for sure.
They're hard to find.
Yeah. No, so Brock and I, we started fishing, I don't even know how many years it's been. It was when I had my Skeeter. So what was that, 5 years ago?
5 years ago, yeah.
5 or 6 years ago. I don't know. It's just always it's always been like just get in the boat. We just I don't want to sound like that guy, but we just catch fish. Like we vibe and we make decisions, good decisions together, and it just kind of happens. We don't really force it, you know. Like we're out there just fishing, we know it's going to happen. And the worst thing you can have is somebody that has a different kind of mind at, like, say you're not catching fish and you got 3 hours left and you have no bass. There's somebody back there is like kind of stressing you out. I guess not stressing, but pushing you to like make a good decision or something like that. And then it makes you want to do something that you don't normally do if you were fishing on your own. And I think the fact that Brock and I both fish solo a lot, we understand that like we're just one decision away from making a good decision and catching fish. So I feel like not having that pressure of forcing something to happen in a tournament allows you to fish freely and catch fish. And I feel like we both do that very well. And that has a lot to say because we fish solo too. And it's a lot more pressure fishing solo. Like you're out there by yourself. Whereas when you got a team partner, like 90% of the time, I don't have to worry about me catching a bass. Like if I don't catch one, then there's fish here. I know he's going to catch one, to where it works hand in hand with that. So like less pressure on you. You know, you got a good partner that's going to catch fish too. And you're both locked in the whole time. And that has a lot to say with him saying like having fun too. Like there's a lot of times that we'd have tournaments and we'd be keeping score like it's 1-0, 2-1, something like that, like just having a good time with it. And then when something big happens, then we're hyped for each other. Like we're out there having fun and we're keeping it serious, but like not putting too much pressure on each other. So I think that's a big deal.
And like the last, like, and with an hour left, we ain't discouraged. Like, oh man, we're gonna not do good. We're still fighting the last hour. Be like, let's pull up here and see if we can make magic happen. You know, we're not just like, oh, we've lost. You know, we're in it the whole time.
Yeah, you know, because there is tournament fishing in most sports, especially individual sports. It's so mental. It's such a mind game, and that's probably the biggest struggle in a tournament situation is keeping your mind in check. You know, not getting spun out.
That's 80% of it. The more I fish, the more I learn is like good decisions, knowing when to pick up this bait, try it all, when to leave. Emotionally staying in it is, I mean, that's the controllables compared to other people. You know, that's how you're going to beat those other people, is with your mind on how you're thinking on the water.
I tell you,
one decision away from winning a tournament. Like it's that simple. You make one good decision and you pull up to a spot and you catch 2 5-pounders, and that could be the winning deal.
Yeah, and the more you fish, the more you see that happening. It's not, a lot of times we think of, especially this time of year, that morning bite is so critical. And it is, but there's times where if you make the wrong stop or you're throwing the wrong bait, that bite window will go away. And then your mind starts working on you. You're like, that was the best opportunity I'm probably going to have today. And I've got nothing in the boat, or I've got one fish, you know, and I was planning on putting 5 in the boat and, you know, go ahead.
That's where your mind kind of went wrong, was you're just thinking there's a morning bite, you know, like if you're just focused on, okay, I have to have a good morning and it doesn't happen, then it kind of ruins the rest of your day. Like your mindset's like, dang, I missed my opportunity, but really you need to just stay in it the whole day and don't think like that. Like, there could be a morning bite, but you got to keep your head in it the whole time, not just the morning, or if it's an evening bite, you got to stay in it every minute.
That's really hard to do too. When you go every minute, every hour that ticks by that you don't have a bite,
it wears out.
Fish in the boat. That
you
gorilla
go 2
gets behind
hours
you, he starts wrapping them fingers around that neck. And I think you guys talk about good team partners. I think the one thing quality that I like is when I ask you, like, what do you think? What if I ask you your opinion or what we should do? Don't give me I don't know. It's up to you. Give me something that you're confident in. Let's go do it. Let's run and do it.
Yeah.
Because eventually you're going to run out of ideas, right?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because Brock and I ask each other that, but like I feel like most of the time we kind of just go do it. Like we don't. If we're struggling, it's like, all right, I'm out of ideas. What do you think? And then maybe go do something like that. But there's so many times that we're out there and we're having a good tournament. Like it's just we just go. Like maybe one of us says, "Ah, what do you think about trying this spot kind of deal or this spot?" But it's never like we're sitting there staring at each other like, all right, what should we do type deal. And then eventually you're gonna guess right. But just like you said, just only a matter of time. That one good decision.
Yeah, and I think that's you're so right. That happens a lot. Just that one decision, pulling up in the right area at the right time, and you go. Even when you go a couple hours without a bite, it's like your mind starts drifting, but you're closer. Hopefully, you're closer to putting the puzzle together, the pieces together. If you're working hard, you're eliminating things, you're trying different things, and eventually, you're either going to run out of time or you're going to connect with the fish and get right in a hurry. And that's kind of what the race is. It's on those tough days. It's a race against, your mind versus the clock. Can you figure that stuff out before you run out of time? And it only takes, like 10 minutes to get right or less.
It don't take long to reel them in.
No, it takes about 3 seconds to catch a fish if you're flipping.
Yeah. I was going to say another thing too is the more and more I fish tournaments, I used to really believe that the morning was the best time to catch your biggest fish. Like this has been a while, but now the more I fish these tournaments, if I don't catch anything in the morning or the first couple hours, which honestly most of the time don't, we catch most of our better fish. It seems like kind of late morning or heck, even middle of the day. And then, like, once you do that so many times, it's like, okay, if we don't catch one in the first 3 hours, so what? We still can catch a 5-pounder at 1:30 p.m. Like just as good as we can catch one at 6:30 in the morning. Maybe a top water bite, maybe like you're counting on a top water bite in the morning, but anything else, it's like, dude, we've caught fish at 10 a.m., 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 p.m. Like just anytime during the day, you can catch a big one.
Well, and think about it this way: as a tournament guy that collects 5 of them and drags them around all day, I'd rather catch a 5 or 6 pounder at 1 o'clock, at 2 o'clock.
Yeah,
I don't have to babysit that fish for 8 hours.
Yeah,
that'd be ideal.
Right.
Here's a question. Bradley says, do you throw exactly the same baits or give them some variety? So when you're fishing a team tournament, what's your bait selection like? And how do you mix it up?
We always throw something different.
Yeah.
Unless something's just crazy working, and then we're like, all right, we're both throwing it.
Yeah, even then though, like there's been tournaments where we've had some big tournaments where I don't catch one, or vice versa. Like it's like I don't care. Like there's some guys out there that care that they want to catch 1 or 2 or 3 or 5, all 5 bass and say they caught them, but like I don't have no ego. Like I don't care. I'd rather not have to put that pressure on myself to catch them. So it's like, why would you throw the same thing if something's working? Like maybe I'll catch this one that's out here doing its own thing. If Brock's catching them all on a jig, maybe I'll catch that 1 6-pounder on a worm, that doesn't want to eat a jig. I just feel like that's trusting your partner and getting the job done with the lure he's throwing, and you have to figure it out to make your lure work type deal,
Like there's one tournament I won't forget. Like we're on him with a jig and a worm, and the whole time, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm just gonna throw a crankbait around and catch a big one for no reason, just out of nowhere, being like, I'm gonna switch it completely up on this good spot and throw something different.
A square bill in the middle, a fire cross square bill in the middle of the summer, and you caught like a giant. It's like, okay, I guess we're doing that now.
Yeah.
Well, how many times I know fishing fall stuff around here, one guy's throwing a frog, one guy's punching. And a lot of times for us, like, it's just, I get tired of punching. I'm going to throw the frog for a little bit. You punch for a while. And you just switch spots in the boat and you just back and forth, because after, 4 or 5 hours of punching a ounce and a half weight, you get a little tired doing that.
That's a lot different for sure.
So,
Unfortunately anymore, we're gone like kind of in the springtime. So it seems like when we're fishing team tournaments, it's either the winter or the middle of the summer. And in the middle of the summer, he's throwing a jig, I'm throwing a worm. In the winter, we're both throwing jerk baits, and they're both different colors. Like, even if he's catching them on a color, like, I will not throw the same color. It's like, okay, what's the point? Because there's a lot of fish that still follow a bait that don't bite it, that might eat the one that you're throwing, type deal. Like, it doesn't do you any good to fight over the same fish. No. From where we live, that is, like Truman and the Ozarks, like maybe at Kentucky Lake or something, when you got a giant school fired up or something like that, you want to throw the same thing.
I think, Brad, you touched on something real important from the team tournament aspect, and that is trusting your partner's abilities to do work with whatever bait he's throwing. And also, you could apply that to pre-fishing. If you guys are splitting up to practice for a tournament and Brock's fishing one area, Brad's fishing another area, and you guys kind of debrief at the end of the day. If, say, Brad asked Brock, did you skip a jig around docks? And he said, yeah, but I didn't get bites. Well, if partner B is not that great and not that, he's not putting that jig back in those dark corners in those spots where it needs to be to actually rule out a jig bite, you really haven't accomplished anything. So there is something to be said about having a partner that's abilities are, equal to you, or that you can trust that when they say they're not biting on whatever technique that is, that at least that day in that area, they weren't biting on it.
Yeah. Because, you can have some guys where you're like, well, did you try this creek? And they'll be like, yeah. And you're like, well, where did you try in that creek? And they're like, oh, I flipped 2 docks and left. I'm like, well, then you didn't really try the creek, Yeah. It's like me and him, like, if he says he tried something, I know I can rely on him, like he actually tried that creek or whatever.
Yeah. Did you fish the brush pile on the the third dock in that back corner?
Did you actually spend more than 10 minutes in there,
Yeah, and if for some reason, like, I know exactly what he's talking about. Like, if for some reason he's like, did you try here? And I'm not gonna say yes, I tried there if I feel like I didn't give it a good go. I would tell him, like, dude, honestly, I kept doing the same thing for 4 hours and wasn't catching them. I tried in there, but I didn't give it a good enough type deal like that to okay, maybe tomorrow, since he thinks I should try that, I'll try it. Or if I want to go somewhere else, Brock's like, okay, I'll just go in there tomorrow because he didn't really give it a good go. There's no good in saying you tried something and not putting 100% into it,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's just being that's no ego, being humble and being honest to your team partner, because you're in it together.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's good stuff. We got some questions here. They're loading up. I'm just gonna pop them up here and we can go through them. Here we go. John says, what is an old school bait that you guys still use?
Jig.
Jig. Or
inch worm.
Something more exciting than those two. Anything?
Spinnerbait. I'd say I caught some fish on a spinnerbait this year.
Any old hard baits that you guys still use?
We're not big crankbait guys. I mean, jerkbait's about our favorite thing.
Yeah, it's like if you can catch them on a square bill, they're gonna bite a jerkbait, and I feel like we can catch them on a jerkbait better than a square bill. To where it's like that's.
Or if they're gonna bite a square bill, I think we can both say we both like throwing a spinnerbait more than we throw a square bill.
Yeah,
I'd rather catch them on a spinnerbait than square bill.
We're not really hard bait guys, really.
Unfortunately, other than jerkbaits.
Yeah. I mean, the only time I would say is like if there's running water or something and it's a deep diving crankbait deal.
Yeah, which we haven't really had other than home, which even
we
then
we haven't really been here to.
Right. I wish there's one thing I feel like Brock and I are really, really good at, and that is skipping docks. And I feel like we don't, unfortunately, get to fish too many team tournaments like that. Like, I can maybe count on one hand how many team tournaments we've done flipping docks together.
But we like to. I mean, that's probably our best conventional way of doing stuff is flipping docks.
Yeah,
we're pretty efficient flipping some docks.
Yeah. I feel like that's something that kind of gets overlooked. Like, yeah, people might think that we catch them using live scope, which we try to, obviously. But if you put us around some docks, we're going to catch them around some docks too, if we have to.
Yeah, we've talked about that on here a lot of times, like the misconception of people that are efficient with forward-facing sonar and do good in tournaments. They're very good at catching them a lot of other ways, or they wouldn't be, on the Elite Series or the BPT or fishing the Invitationals or the Opens. They're not, most guys are not just completely one-sided like that.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't be good with live scope, I feel like, either.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to learn
where the fish are.
Yeah.
The winning fish.
Yep, I agree. Or everybodyed be catching them with it. I mean,
Correct.
that separates a lot of people. It's all about finding the fish.
It's all about having confidence in going out and doing it too. Like, you guys got confidence in each other. You got to have confidence in the equipment and the pattern that you're fishing too.
I went out on Truman the other day for like 14 hours and live scoped my butt off. And I can honestly say, I don't think I saw a bass in 14 hours. So, I mean.
You mean they didn't just jump in the boat?
I figured they would, and I got out there, and I'm like, dang, I don't think I saw a single one all day.
Come on them.
Yeah, live scope really helped me today.
Here's a super specific question. If you had one bait in a summertime derb, what would it be? No clouds in the sky and 5-mile-per-hour winds.
Is it a jig?
It's specific, but it's also general too.
What lake?
What kind of lake? Water clarity?
North, yeah. One bait in the summer, man. I would, if I'm just trying to catch a bass, I'm going to say drop shot.
Yeah,
they still bite a drop shot.
If I'm just trying to catch a bass in the summertime, yeah, drop shot. For anybody in live scope or not, I would drop shot.
Anywhere. Yeah, drop shots.
Anywhere. Yeah, because you can catch them anywhere.
If we're going anywhere, I would agree with the drop shot. But if we're on Truman, we'll say Truman for me would be a 10-inch worm or a jig, but he said one, so 10-inch worm.
Freaking one-trick pony over here.
One rod.
Just an old dragger. That's all he is.
Got my old man seat up there. Actually, I don't ever use an old man seat. Something kind of funny. And I never understood that. You guys might think I'm dumb or whatever, but I might be. I never understood why everybody that's ever smallmouth fish is in a chair sitting down. Like, I'm just looking out there and I see them sitting in a chair just fishing. I'm like, dude, why are they sitting down? Like, if they're on their home lake, they're not going to be sitting down. When I was fishing St. Clair and it was rolling out there, and I'm out there surfing on the front of my boat, trying to live scope a fish 100 feet away that's swimming 5 miles an hour, and I'm trying to do this, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is why they have a freaking chair up here. Because
are you talking about like a?
That's exactly what I was thinking when you said that.
Are you talking about like a butt seat? Or are you talking about like a physical sit down?
Butt seat. Just like something to lean on, dude. I was the only idiot out there, 150 of us, not having a chair in the front, and I'm like falling over into the lake every 5 seconds trying to catch.
The locals were laughing at you on the way out. They're like, "Watch this guy. He's going to be seasick. He's going to be wet, or he's going to be seasick."
How were your knees the next morning?
My legs were fine. Actually, the third day of practice, I don't know, second or third day, I saw Brock in the parking lot, and I'm like, dude, I am never sore fishing, but I am actually sore. Like, my feet are sore because of that. Because I was literally surfing for 16 hours straight. I'm like, you are a moron. No wonder.
Cast for fire, man.
Dude, I had the second day of the tournament, I was out there in the middle of the lake, and it was rough. Like, we're talking Lake of the Ozarks on steroids where I was fishing. and they're running right next to you, and I'm up there fighting a 4-pounder, and dude, this thing had me all over the freaking place. Couldn't spot lock because all the waves are going everywhere, and I'm up there like trying not to fall in the lake half the time fighting this fish. I'm falling into this fish coming off 100%. So, moral of the story: if you ever go smallmouth fishing, bring a butt seat. Put the ego away. Get a butt seat. I'll never do that again. I almost put the old man chair in the front because I was hurting so bad up there.
Did you have one, Brock?
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, I was the only one.
I brought both of them.
He did his research.
One.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Brock wants to know how many days these guys are on the water.
10.
A
year?
Yeah.
Bradley could probably beat me on this one. Brad will go sun up to sundown. I'm not.
I truly believe
150.
Dude, no, it's more than that.
157.5.
I was gonna say, I bet you, because I guide a little over 100 days a year, and then tournament fish. I gotta be close to 300. Have to be, because there's not very many days that I'm not doing something on the water. It doesn't seem like, whether it's for 2 hours. Now, if I'm just going out there for 4 hours messing around or something, 2 to 4 hours, it doesn't really feel like a full day. But dude, it's gotta be up there.
But that's still time on the water, right? That's still you're doing something.
Yeah. I mean, I feel pretty worthless. Like if I sit at home and I'm on the couch, all I do is I stare at my phone and I scroll and I scroll and I scroll, and then I get a headache and then I get mad because I'm not doing anything. So like that's when I'm like, screw it, I'm going fishing. So I go fish.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I try to do something.
All right. Any comments on the worst tournament partners, or like in a BFL, a co-angler that was just kind of a handful?
Damn.
For sure, David Brand Jr. God, he's terrible.
We're calling names out. We're not just.
That Anthony Johnson's bad too.
Anthony Johnson's pretty bad.
I won that super tournament if he didn't catch a 5-pounder. No, I've been pretty fortunate. I had 1 year, I think it was my second year fishing the BFLs. I had a co-angler that was pretty freaking horrendous. And after that tournament, I've told all of our buddies, I said, dude, the best thing you can do is just have a conversation with your co-angler in the morning. Just say, hey man, like, it's hard to piss me off, but I'm not going to say, hey, don't throw past console, because I get it. It's tough being a co-angler, but like, just let me have first dibs on the stuff that I'm fishing. Like, obviously I found these fish, so let me at least fish them. Like, don't be throwing up over my shoulder and all that stuff. I'm like, I get it. I'm going to try to help you out. I'm not going to backboat you. I'm going to try to help you out and give you some water to fish. And then after that tournament, I've had one other bad co-angler. It was so bad that I literally stopped fishing when I was fishing. I'm like, dude, I can't do it anymore. I'm just going to go out here and just go throw at the bank or something, because he's going to cost me a really good tournament. So I left. So I've had 2 bad ones. I'm not going to say the names, but Harlan, Brock, and Austin all know who they were, but they were bad.
Did you ever have a conversation with that co-angler?
Dude,
didn't matter?
Multiple times. I look back, I'm like, dude, like, for real, what are you doing? Like, there's one way to do it, and this is not the right way to do it. We're talking like I could see his bait on my screen while I was reeling mine in, type bad. I'm done. We're done. Luckily, I had a good bag to where I could go do that, but it was pretty treacherous.
I mean, you got to be, at that point, you got to be worried about getting hit upside the back of the head.
It was a shame.
I mean, they're flying close.
I've only had one of those guys, and they're at Grand Lake. I was going in between these 2 docks, and there was a lay down straight in front of me.
It's a regional one,
on the regional, and he was an old timer, and I see a jig fly over my shoulder, land right next to the lay down. Like, and we're talking like skinny in between the docks. I'm like, I'll let you flip the fronts and stuff while I get back in there. And he bombs one over my shoulder and catches like a 4 or 5 pounder in front of my trolling, like getting it wrapped up in my trolling motor. I'm like, I can't believe this is happening.
This was the same year that I had the first bad one. And I had this conversation with him. I was like,
and I've never had any problems ever.
Yeah. I was like, dude, I told you that's what you have to do. He's like, man, I know, but I don't even remember exactly what he said. But he's like, I couldn't say anything.
An old timer, and I was like, I ain't gonna say anything, but I'm gonna stare him down.
Yeah. That costed you a freaking maybe top 12. Because at the time it was top 12, I think, to fish the second day or third day.
It definitely did.
It's so easy just to have the conversation in the morning, and then if they're being disrespectful, it's like, what do you do? I mean, luckily, out of the 40 pro-ams or 50 pro-ams we fish, I've only had 2 like bad ones.
Yeah. I would say, besides the bad, there's a lot of good people.
Yes, I mean our best friends are co-anglers.
Super nice people being my co-angler.
Yeah.
Super
Literally,
nice.
2 of our best friends are from co-anglers that we've met. David and Anthony.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear those stories every once in a while, and that amazes me because I just couldn't imagine
they want to win
doing that. Do what?
I said they want to win bad.
I know, but that's golly. It's a bass tournament, man. You gotta.
It's awkward in the boat. Like
now if it's
makes
like
a long day.
Yeah, like Gabe, say you find these fish in a tournament, your boater's just struggling, and you're like, hey man, I got a spot, we can go try. Then it's like, okay, you found those fish, you can fish it while I'm fishing it type deal. Like not me working 3 days, sun up, sun down, finding these fish, and the guy in the back's ruining it the whole time. It's like, dude, you didn't find like if you found these fish and told me exactly where they're at, it's a different story. But like, let me fish the fish I found.
Yeah,
I agree, 100%.
I had that happen on Kentucky Lake where you just talking about like I had found fish the week before and we were having a conversation. That was when we had meetings and we were having a conversation the night before and he's like, "Are you on anything?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, I was here last week and I had like 5 limits of fish and 9 hours of fishing." And he's like, "I haven't seen a limit of fish in 4 days."
Let's go.
And he's like, "Let's go to your spot." I'm like, "No, if you got stuff, I mean, we don't have to go to my stuff." And he's like, "No, if it's on the way, we'll just stop there." We end up fishing there all day. We both cut a check out of that spot.
And sometimes it'll be like that. Like you get, especially when you get on a place you never really been to. Like it'd be if you draw a local, it's like, dang, I might ask this guy a couple things. You know, if I'm struggling, like, hey man, you got any ideas?
And most times co-anglers are open books too, right? They're going to tell you everything.
Yeah, most of the time.
Mm.
Brock grumbles. He's like, I don't want to hear half of
it. yeah, no, that's true too. I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever. I'm gonna go catch nothing regardless. So let's go do it my way.
Well, the worst part is like the dock talk, right? Like you hear him talking about all the war stories and how they did this here and that there, and it's like, dude, I got my own fish. I just want to go fish my own stuff.
Dude, there is such a thing. That is such a deal. Like you can get information and tell them exactly where you're catching fish and all that stuff, but it doesn't matter. Like you still have to go fish your way and catch fish, because if you're fishing somebody else's way, in the back of your head the whole time you're like, this isn't right for me. They just wasted half of a day trying to catch somebody else's fish. It does not work. It really doesn't, unless they're like schooling on top. That's like, okay, I'm gonna go catch those fish schooling. But dude, it's way different. Like when you travel and stuff, you have a set way of how you break down a lake, and most of the time it's gonna work if you stay true to what you like to do. But if you use a whole day trying to do somebody else's thing, it can ruin a tournament for you.
I've had two. I'll share two really quick stories as a co-angler. I drew a guy in a Toyota series at Kentucky Lake, and it was day 2, and he was sitting. I think he was sitting top 20, and we had a little talk in the morning. He said, "Hey, I'm catching these fish shallow, and I'm throwing a Carolina rig. And we're coming into these little cuts off of the base, just little secondary point and then a little cut and then secondary point type of deal, channel swing kind of stuff." And he said, I only got one thing to say, just please don't cast to the opposite bank when we're going in. We'll fish whatever side I'm fishing out of. That's what we're fishing. But please don't cast to the other side. And I'm like, that's fair. That was fair enough. And I honored that until it was 1:30 or so in the afternoon, and it was pretty tough. And I made one bomb cast to the far side of the bank. And after that, for the next probably 20 minutes, he made sure he did his best to make sure that I couldn't get any kind of a good cast on that other bank. And he didn't have to say anything. I didn't have to say anything. And after that, we were good. Cast? No, I didn't, but we were good. But this was a long time ago, so I was still a little bit green. Dude, but it was like an unspoken thing that, hey, he saw what I did, and I knew what I did after what he said, but I still did it anyway because I was just being stupid. I was struggling. And then the other cool thing that happened was when I fished with Roger Fitzpatrick at Lake of the Ozarks a couple of years ago, and we were fishing docks. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, do you mind if I skip my jig over here to this other dock?" So we were fishing one side of the boat, fishing docks, and there was this virgin docks over here on the other side. And he said, "I can't tell you where to fish." And that was all he said. I'm like, "I understand what you're saying." That was his way of saying, "You can do it, but I don't like it,"
Yeah, no, dude, I despise being that guy in the front of the boat telling somebody like he said, "I can't tell you where to fish," but in the back of my head, I'm like, dude, I would prefer if you not throw over there first, because that goes with me saying just let me have first dibs. And I say the same thing, dude, I get it. We're going to be fishing docks today. There's going to be a whole dock right there that I haven't even touched. And you're going to look at it and you're going to want to fish it, but just please don't. I promise you're going to have your opportunities. And a perfect example, is Jeremy Greel. I think that's how you say his last name. He's in a super tournament with me. It was day 2 on the Ozarks, and we were skipping docks. And I literally am skipping a half ounce or 3/4 ounce football jig, one of the two. And I skip it in a well, and I get to the next one. I skip it in that well, or hole in the side of the dock, whatever it's called. Skip in there, and he's like, "Hey, are you done with this one?" I said, "Yeah, I just fished it." And he skipped the same exact jig in the same hole that I literally just fished and caught a 5-pounder. So it's sometimes throwing in the same spot twice pisses one off and he bites it. And he was awesome. He literally did. I just asked him, say, "Hey, let me have first dibs on everything? Will be great." And I stayed away from the dock so he could fish it too. Whereas it's okay, this guy's pushing me this whole time. Maybe I'm going to get a little tighter to these docks and it's going to be a little tougher for him to fish ahead of me type deal. But since he gave me my space and let me do my thing, I gave us plenty of room for him to fish the same stuff that I'm fishing. And he caught a big one.
Well, and as a boater fishing docks, you can really screw that guy in the back of the boat.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Which, like I said, luckily I've had 2 bad experiences. And other than that, they've been awesome. And like Brock said, there's really, really, really good people. And we've got some best friends from co-anglers. But
I think that goes both ways though too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We've had some really crappy boaters, but for the most part, I would say 98% of the boaters that I've had are great boaters.
Yeah, and I mean, it don't take much to piss a co-angler off and just have them actually knock one off at the boat with that. "Oh man, I'm sorry." That's the last thing you want to do is make them mad and start knocking your fish off.
Yeah, there's a lot of control with the guy that has the net. I mean,
yeah.
That's nope. I never even thought about that. Damn it.
What are you doing?
I've swung a lot of fish from myself. From fishing by myself for so long, I've always swung fish. So
Yeah, I mean, you're flipping and that fish it's tight quarters. That fish is getting in the boat. There ain't no waiting.
I'm not going to play the situation out and let him jump and get slack. I'm just going to bring him in the boat, and we're going to have a conversation when we get in the bottom of the boat, not while we're, attached with a piece of string.
I can see a scenario where there's the boater's got a 7-pounder on a jig head minnow, 8-pound test and little fairy wand, and the co-angler's standing there with the net, and the boater's like, net the fish, and the co-angler's like, I want you to say sorry. What? I want you to say sorry for what you said to me back there. Then you hear a splash and the co-angler goes in the water too.
Give me my $40 back for that gas money.
Dude, that I guarantee you that's happened. Guarantee you.
Sorry.
It's hilarious. Here's a question from Wyatt. He says, do you guys find that larger or smaller subtle brush piles are more productive for bass?
Just depends where you're at.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to fish like you don't want to fish a truck brush pile. Like,
whoa. In Fall, Alabama, those were my best ones.
Well, there you go. I mean,
depends on the lake.
It really does depend like where you're at and time of the year and all of that stuff. And whether it's on the main lake, whether it's in a creek, like all that stuff matters. And I hate to be vague like that, but truly it does.
I've caught them in both, even out on Truman. I mean, I've caught a 6-pounder out of a gnarly one, and then I've caught a big one out of a small one on the same day.
Yeah.
You kind of just have to hit it all and keep them honest.
I'd say the advantage of those smaller ones is not as many people will find them.
That is the deal.
But
the bigger ones are real obvious.
Big ones is somebody might just throw in there one time, but if you work it for like 20 minutes, and because it's hard to hit a giant brush pile with a couple casts.
Yeah, we're talking a 30-foot brush pile with a 20-inch fish in there.
Yeah. So it could take you 20 minutes to get that fish out of there.
That's literally a needle in a haystack.
Yeah. For real.
Mike says, what's the biggest team bag you guys have weighed in together?
Not big enough. What was it? Caps' deal?
Yeah. We've had quite a few 22 to 23 somethings. Have we had 1 or 2 24s?
I think 2, maybe.
Yeah, maybe 2 24s. One was in the Caps deal. It was a heavy 24. That was 2 years ago.
Is that Ozarks or Truman?
Ozarks. We've weighed some big. I was actually telling my customers today, I was like, man, honestly, Brock and I, we've got some giant bags on Truman when you're not supposed to catch giant bags. Like we've had 2 over 22 pounds in the middle of the summer on Truman.
Wow.
And then my dad and neighbor Gary Maxwell, they had a 20. What does that say? 24 pounds 7 ounces with like an 8.3 kicker this year.
Jeez.
On Truman jerkbait.
Truman?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like kind of the good old day type of weights.
Yeah.
I remember having Dion on here a couple years ago, and he was talking about some of the team derbs he fished with his dad, and they talked about those kind of weights, like 25, 26 pounds on Truman back in the good old days.
You know how many people have told me, oh, yeah, I've caught 9-pounders, 10-pounders out of Truman? I'm like, recently? They're like, no, this was 20 years ago. I'm like, it sounded like there was a bunch of 9s back out here.
Yeah, Kevin Love, he's been fishing this lake forever. He used to say, dude, it was nothing to go in the spring and catch an 8-pounder on this lake. Now it's like, you don't hardly see any, and you really don't. It's hard. You'll see maybe a 6-pounder. There was a 7-pounder in the last Joe Bass that we fished and actually won. But dude, not very many. And you'll see some nice like 5-pounders and 5.5-pounders, but not very many over 6.
We're kind of the same way around our home lake too. It's like you'll see some heavy 5s and some light 6s,
but back in the 90s, it took if you didn't have an 8-pounder or so on a Wednesday nighter, you weren't going to get big bass. And a lot of times you had to have a couple 8-pounders in your bag to win.
Crazy.
Right.
That's how
That's the way
Smith.
it is.
My dad said Smithville used to be with the hydrilla in there. He said that place was unreal.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll ever come back.
Bust.
Jacob says, do you guys throw the same brand of jerk baits or different?
We most of the time throw the same brand. I'll throw a provoke every once in a while too. It just all depends on the color.
Hard to
honestly.
beat the old mega bass.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though everybody throws it, it's still a great bait.
The action.
There's other ones, like if I want to go shallow, like on Truman, I'll use all kinds of different stuff on Truman because usually, we're trying to crash the bottom a little bit, or we're throwing it up there a lot shallower most of the time compared to Ozarks, and you can get away with all kinds of different jerk baits on Truman. Like I've caught on some Jenko ones, and then Lucky Strike. I'll throw them all out here.
Well, you also don't want to throw that mega bass and be raking the bottom with it.
Yeah, or else guess what happens?
You got a $25 keychain.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Nick wants to know, should he start with the Rover or Chapo Saturday at Truman?
I would say a spook if you're gonna do it. The one knocker spook.
The one knocker.
In bone?
10-inch? Yeah. Or a 10-inch worm, obviously. That's what I got my butt kicked with. Or throw a chatterbait all day. That's what I'd do.
Yeah, Brock caught him on a chatterbait and a spook.
Yeah. Surprisingly, this time
I don't
of year.
think that dude's ever thrown a chatterbait in the boat with me.
No.
It's been a chatterbait thing the last couple of months.
Lost to Brad, but I'm like, Brad, I caught him on a chatterbait, dude.
Like, I didn't even think to throw that.
No.
Brad Thatcher said he had Brock as a boater on Kentucky Lake this year in the Toyota Series. Sounds like you guys had a good time.
Yeah. I remember him. Yeah. Kentucky Lake Grinder.
Yeah. I got a BFL there next week. So it's a super tournament. Got to catch them, man. Got to catch them.
Parish, or
it's the Parish one.
Paris?
Yeah. Three fish tournament.
Dude, that lake has got them. That place is crazy.
Yeah. What'd you guys think about it when you were down there for the Invitationals?
Well, luckily we've been there a couple of times the last 2 years where it kind of helps. But, dude, that place is fun.
Yeah.
They would have been saying that 4 years ago?
Yeah, it's 4 years ago. It was crazy. It was just horrible. But
I fished it in one of those regionals, and I think I got 12th place with 4 fish in 2 days for 12 pounds.
I know, man. It's come that far.
Brad caught 1 fish all week, I think.
Yeah. Dude, funny story for that deal. So out there grinding all practice, and I catch first I caught 2 on a spinnerbait in Barkley, throwing at the freaking riprap in one of those big creeks. And then I caught a 12-incher the next day, and then the next day I think I caught none. And then the last day of practice, I found this shell bed, and I had no idea. This is back in my dumbass days. And I have no idea what I found. I throw up there, and I'm like, dude, this feels pretty good. My dad texts me. He's like, hey, I'm at the boat ramp. All right, go pick him up, Paris. Get back into the Big Sandy. It's somewhere out there. Couldn't even tell you where it was. And I'm dragging my jig around, and I set the hook, and it pulls off. I'm like, dude, that was a freaking giant. And my dad never fished this lake before, never anything like that. He literally looks down at the floor. I have 1 spinning rod at the time. And he picks it up, and it's a 4-inch shaky head worm, throws it out there, first cast, catches a 5.5 pounder. I'm like, what in the world? I've been fishing for 4 days straight, and I ain't caught nothing. You pull up and catch one your first cast, and it's that? Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's amazing how it came back. It's just
I remember that same tournament. I put the boat in the water and I just turned my graph on, and it was wall to wall Asian carp. Like I was just idling. You literally could not see anything on the screen because there's so many carp, and you don't see that hardly anywhere now. You still see carp, obviously, but not like that.
Yeah, and you see bait now. You didn't see a lot of bait 3, 4, 5 years ago. I mean, it was almost impossible to find like a bait ball out there. It's crazy. It's like, is there any bait anywhere? And I don't think there was much, but now there's bait everywhere out there.
I remember the end of the heyday. You talk about the carp, like when the carp showed up, they had the Strike King had a red eye shad that was a carp color, and it killed for a while down there.
That's a bad joke.
Let's go through some of the season, the 2024 season. Just talk a little bit about some of the lakes here.
Yeah, it was an awesome schedule this year.
Let's see if I got this on there.
It was pretty. That was a good schedule.
Terrible.
Yeah. It was diverse and it was nice.
So Rayburn, is that a place you guys had been to before, or are you just going in blind for the most part?
I went down there to pre-practice with my uncle, my dad, and a good buddy of mine, more or less just to kind of look at the lake. I definitely wouldn't say that fished how I ended up fishing in the tournament there. We just kind of went there to go have a good time and see the lake. So technically, yes, I had been there, but not like how we were.
I was going in blind.
Yeah. And then the tournament. Thoughts on the tournament? How did it go? What'd you guys figure it out? And I mean, do you have a pattern? Do you have anything figured out? Did you feel confident? Did you feel completely lost? Or
yeah, I heard a bunch about all this, grass that, and turns out they weren't in the grass whenever we were there. That's what I learned.
Not very many good ones.
No.
Yeah,
I tried it.
I could catch like 13 to 16 pounds in the grass pretty easy on a jerk bait, but like never caught any big ones. And Brock had caught one big one. I think out of the whole house, like I think Brock had the only big one for the first 2 days, and it went to Miki. And I was fishing the grass edge and stuff and starting to see some fish out there. And then Brock and I were kind of fishing around each other, and he's like, dude, I caught 1 4-pounder. It was on a freaking Demiki rig. And he's like, I forgot what he said. I'm like, well, have you tried that all day? And he's like, well, no. And I'm like, well, maybe you should try it all day. And after talking to him, then again, it was like we had like half a day left on the third day. And I'm like, screw it. I ain't seen a freaking 4-pound or a 4.5-pounder yet. And there's 10 pounders in this dang lake. So I literally picked my trolling motor up, drove to the middle of the creek, dropped it down. And then like 10 minutes, I caught like a 5.5-pounder. And I was like, are you serious? In the middle of nowhere on absolutely nothing. Like I was crappie fishing. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm doing this. That's how it happened.
Yeah. For real. I am glad that last day you're like, well, have you tried it all day? I'm like, no, but I'm going to do it the rest of the day and just see what happens.
Yeah.
I was like, yep, this is it.
I bet Drew Gill and Jake probably had a minnow on the deck of their boat.
I think Drew caught him on a worm. Actually, I know he caught him on the worm the last day.
Yeah, he was worming. Jake was definitely minnowing.
Yeah, Drew.
Because I talked to him about it. Or on day 2, he had like nothing and pulled into a gut, and he said it just got right in a hurry.
Yeah, Drew is so unbelievably good. Like there's difference between guys that use live scope and like kind of pass and fish up, which I've been a victim of. Like I'll see some fish or whatever and they don't bite, and I'll kind of just say, whatever, and just keep moving. Like the guys that are really, really good, they find a way to follow those fish and get them to bite. Like I can follow them still, but I kind of just choose not to follow them. Like Drew figures out how to get those fish to bite and capitalize on it. And then like in the tournament, he was saying like he figured out that he could catch them on the Nico rig, and he started following the fish into where they were going to spawn and just wrecked them. It's like that's why he's so good, is because he knows fish movement and knows what they're doing in certain times of year and can get those fish to bite.
It makes them say uncle.
He's well beyond his years of knowledge too. Like,
Oh yeah,
get that he's just a kid too.
yeah. Dude's good, very very good, consistent too. Did you see that they changed the Bass Pro Tour rule? Is that really a thing?
That's what I've heard. Even the Alabama Bass Council.
So I saw the first one, and I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. And then Slick Johnson said that it brought it up too, that the guys on the Bass Pro Tour only get one period with live scope next year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw the Slick talking about that yesterday or today, but I haven't.
One period.
Dude, that dude's a lot more popular than I thought he was.
Well, he's fishes with Jordan Lee all the time. Like, they're good buddies.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So he gets a lot of the end.
He gets the end, and he gets to say what Jordan wants to say.
I saw a post on, I think it was Instagram or whatever, where somebody had left a comment on what was it at? Okay, got it. Somebody had left a comment about him just talking about catching fish and never catching any fish. And he was literally sitting on like a pile of trophies. That's pretty funny.
I didn't watch the video just because I was scrolling and I saw that and I was like, that's just somebody being a hater.
Yeah, we're trying to find that rule change. There you go, MLF rule change for 2025.
I've heard it from two different sources though. Dad's seen it on something, and then I seen Alabama Bass Council had it on there. I was like, huh. But you don't hear all the actual anglers talking about it yet.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Or you'd hear it from Randy Blanket or Blockett.
Yeah,
he'd be ready to block it, right?
Yeah.
Because I looked it up when I saw it too, and I was like, I don't see anything. And then I was like, okay, maybe it's not a thing. And then Slick said something. I'm like, well, I mean, he's kind of more reliable.
Yeah, he's pretty reliable.
I don't think it must not be in writing yet. What I'm saying is the announcements are they're going from 80 to 65,
and then 50 and 26.
Yeah, higher. Looks like larger regular season payout. Continue the.
Wow, they're doing something positive for the fishermen for once.
No doubt.
It says increase to 150 in 2025 for first place.
Huh.
And then the tournament days will be kind of back to like let's call it more of a normal schedule, 4 days instead of the 25-day marathon that they have.
That was just way too much. They were spending way more money than what they had to on those deals.
That seems like a marathon to try to go through the full event. And you know, as a fan of the sport, like it's super difficult to keep up with.
That's what I said. I'm like, the elites it's like dummy proof, and then you go to the Bass Pro Tour and you get lost. Yeah. On how it's all freaking, you got A, B, this day, that day.
Yeah, you can't keep up. Will help with that. That's for sure. I don't know why they. Yeah.
I mean, you guys don't get an off day in the invitationals, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we golf.
Fair. Fair. How's your golf game?
Terrible.
How's your drinking game?
Pretty good.
There you go.
Huh. I'm not seeing it anywhere, but it'll be out soon.
West Point.
Yeah, West Point. Talk a little bit about that.
That's where I caught him on a spinnerbait.
Yep, nice. Spinnerbait.
I didn't think spinnerbaits still work.
Yeah, they did there a little bit.
Yep, caught.
I would say I caught almost half of mine on a spinnerbait there.
I'm pretty sure I caught like 13 out of the 15 that I weighed in on a spinnerbait and 2 on a jerkbait.
Yeah, you made those spinnerbaits for us.
Yeah, friggin' for us, you stole them, and then you made me make one.
You made me one. Thank God.
You know, looking down the line, it looks like everybody had like one really, really strong day.
Yeah, I had like 15 something the first day, and then
15,
I
15.
Dude, 11. It was hard to catch big ones there. There's a lot of fish in there, but not very many big ones.
Yeah, so the first day in practice, I had almost 16 the first day.
Yeah, you did. You had 15.
So practice was horrible. Like I was not catching anything hardly at all. And there was one laydown, I fished it, and I caught like a heavy like a big spotted bass out of it. I was like, all right, if I'm gonna do that, then I'm just gonna go fish them. Like I don't need to go fish every laydown in sight right now and catch all these fish because they're probably not gonna bite again. So practice, I literally was catching like 10 pounds, maybe 10 pounds a day. In the tournament, I pull up to my starting spot, which was a brush pile for spotted bass, and I think I caught one. And then I was going down the bank, and I had this one section just on the map. It looked really good. It had a couple laydowns on it, and it was next to really good rock. And I saw it in practice, like I'm just gonna mark it. So I marked it. And then in the tournament, I kept staring at this bank the whole time I was fishing. It was across the river. And I'm like, screw it. I'm going over there, keep looking at it. I throw my spinnerbait up, then I catch like a 5-pounder. And I was like, oh my goodness, no way that just happened. And then I'm like, I'm doing it the rest of the time. Spinnerbaits and laydowns. Then I go across the river to the other side, and I'm fishing. And I have it on GoPro. It's actually really cool. It's talking about decisions. And I'm not catching anything at all. I'm like wanting to go to the next laydown spot after this. So I pick my trolling motor up. You see me run across the river, and then I look behind. You don't see me look behind me because the camera's facing forward, but I look behind me, and there's one laydown I didn't hit. And I said to myself, like, dude, you hit every other laydown over there. You might as well go hit it. So I pull a Yui, and I go right back to the laydown I didn't fish, and I catch a 5-pounder out of it. I was like, oh my goodness, no way that just happened. So I had 2 big ones the first day, but it was like cloudy and rainy and really crappy weather. And I was fishing clean water, the cleanest water that on the lake, honestly. And they bit really good there. But after that, the bright sunny day did not work.
That's where Todd Walters, he hammered them off all those laydowns around you.
I specifically remember I pulled up to that bank, and he pulled up on the other end, and I was mad because I waited too long to fish this bank because he pulled up on the other end and was fishing towards me, and I was like, dude, if you were here 5 minutes ago, you would be having this whole thing yourself, because it was a small, like a 40-yard stretch, which it was enough room for 2 guys to start on each end, and work towards each other. Like, I was like, gosh, dang, if you just pulled up here. And I remember I caught that big one, and he left. I didn't think anything of it. And I remember I got back. I'm like, dude, who's in the Ionic boat? And I was like, I was fishing by this dude all day today. And it was Todd Walters, and the dude almost won the thing.
Yeah, he finished second, didn't he?
Yeah, Tyler caught him really good the last day. Well, he caught him really good the first day, too.
Yeah.
So you were in the right area.
Yeah, I just suck.
We both do at the same rate.
Since we got paid.
Yeah, you guys both got a check on that one, didn't you?
Yeah, we actually
I beat Brad in that one, didn't I?
Yeah,
you did. You did.
Barely.
You're like 20th, I think, or 19th. 19th and
19 for like 4 months this year.
Yeah, 19th. That's every time.
19th and 29th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
good solid.
You pooped the bed. You pooped the bed on the last day, didn't you? With like 8 pounds or something.
No, the second day when I had the camera guy with me. But that was the deal. Like, I was catching them on that spinnerbait and that clean water, and the sun and no wind did not help me out at all.
Brad, but you know what? You got paid the exact same amount no matter if you finished 19th or 29th.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. The 6 tournaments we fished this year, Brock and I got paid in all 6 of them, and we made the cut in 4 of them.
Yeah.
Solid. And you finished, what, 8th and 9th in the AOI?
Yeah, which is crazy. We would have finished like 3rd and 4th last year.
I'd seen that. I looked at Keith Carson's last year, and I beat him we both did, by like 14 points, and he finished 4th last year.
Wow.
Yeah. The guys
dang, they're getting better.
I would say that's the same trend that's going on with the opens last year.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exactly what I was gonna say. I feel like last year's opens, those guys. I'm not taking anything away from the guys this year. There's obviously some really, really, really good fishermen in those deals, but the guys in the opens last year were absolutely on a different level. Like as you can see right now, they're winning everything on the elites. I'll never forget because I fished the open on the Ozarks, and I caught like 16 and 16. I had like mid 30s and barely made the top 10 in September. And I told Harlan, I was like, dude, these freaking open guys are no joke. Like I had like 47 pounds and got like 6th or 7th in that deal in September. And I was like, I don't know the last, like you look at the Toyotas and stuff in September, if you have 47 pounds or the super tournaments, like the super tournament cuts were like 26 pounds for the last 3 years. And it was like 34 pounds to make the top 10. I was like, what are these guys doing? It was crazy how good those guys were. And that's kind of what the guys were on the MLF were this year. It was like they didn't miss.
Yeah,
Alex,
like the top 15 guys did not miss.
No. Like we
I
weren't.
feel like we missed, but like we're there, but it's like it doesn't feel like we're there.
Yeah, we needed a top 10 instead of a 25th place finish type deal, and then we would have been there.
And you could probably go back and look at your season and find that one day, that one fish, that one.
Oh yeah, I got Kentucky Lake and St. Clair was my 2 fish that cost me.
Mine was Rayburn and Champlain, I would say.
Let's dive into Kentucky Lake a little bit.
First day on Kentucky Lake, I was mad. I thought I was going to go out there and catch 29 pounds, coming with 15.
Do you guys have solid practices?
I had a really good practice, actually.
And you guys are right there, though, 22nd and 23rd.
Yeah. I got my act together on day 3, finally.
Yeah, I mean, practice was decent. I just didn't catch any big ones in the tournament. I caught some nice ones, but not any like the ones you need to get a top 10 in it. Just solid tags.
The first day I was there, I went out on those bars and caught like 20 pounds. I'm like, this is unbelievable. Then never saw it again.
So it took 63 to win.
I was going to say, how many guys found that same thing and beat up on them all week, though, too?
A lot. I mean, at least 40 guys, probably.
Yeah, I was surprised that. Hey, you beat Jake. Did we both? Yeah.
Yeah, I took a picture in that and sent that to Brad. I said, I want this to be all year.
That's awesome.
You and Jake right below me.
That's bragging rights. I mean,
I was bragging.
Yeah.
Not very often do I get to beat those two.
Yeah, I think Jake was trying to be just a little too sneaky.
He was. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to do. Hard to not do that on your home lake, though.
He was fishing more like the insides of the creeks is what I saw, which was like the month before I think was working, and then it didn't work for him the next time.
Well, how much do you give up on your home lake for a tournament?
Right. Well, he did. Last year, it's a
big one, but I mean, I know Jason Christie has talked about that, like certain spots that he wouldn't give up even for big tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 2 little spots I like on Truman Lake that would be very hard for me to show on national television if that ever happened.
All right.
And it's not even
the same thing.
It's not even necessarily if the guys have fished it or not, but like I firmly believe that if I tell you I have caught multiple 5-pounders off a spot and you've never fished it before, you would fish that spot 100 times different than how you would fish it if I didn't tell you I caught 5-pounders there. Like say you go fish let's just say you go flip a bank on the river here and you don't catch anything and you fish it in 10 minutes. It's like, okay, I'm out of here. That night, I tell you, you tell me you fish that bank, and I say, dude, I've caught like, I don't know how many 5-pounders on that bank the same time of year, same everything. I guarantee you would go to that bank and pick every rock apart on that bank and figure out a way to catch those fish to where it's like, dude, as guys might fish these spots or around these spots, but like if they see or know that somebody, it's like a really good spot, they're going to fish it completely different the next time they fish it.
Is that your way for dog talk, Brad? You when you hear somebody talking about a spot and they're like, "Yeah, I fished that, but I didn't get any bites of it." It's like, dude, I crushed them there 2 days ago.
Yeah, they can go back there. And it'd be just a terrible spot. Dude, they're there. I promise.
All right, let's dive into Eufaula.
That was a fun one. It was repetitive.
Is that a brush pile deal?
That was all brush for us.
For us, they caught him out there schooling on the ledges.
Yeah.
The top 5 guys did. Which I knew whenever I seen Justin Lucas out there idling on day 2, I'm like, he knows something that we don't. Because he fished brush piles on day 1, and then he was idling trying to find the schools the next day.
So I don't mean to like add insult to injury, but you and Emil Wagner caught the exact same amount of weight.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That 18-pound bag. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, he stole my $2,000.
Sure did. Dirty dog.
Yeah.
I'm like, he needs it.
Did you meet him in the parking lot?
Yeah. Shook his hand.
Stole his watch out of his hand.
No, they even did like a top 10 like baits and stuff with me. I'm like, oh, cool. That means I got a top 10. And then I look and I'm like, oh, man. Kicking the nuts.
Dude, I literally just did the same thing.
You did. So you Snapchatted us and said, I told you I was going to make a top 10. And I believed you. And then I went back and looked and I seen you're in 11th. I'm like, you liar.
Dude, well, Rob pulled me aside, went to my boat, took pictures.
That's what he did to me.
And I got everything like 10th place. And then I guess from the live stream messing up, some of the weights weren't on there. Yeah. I went to go get my check. It said 11th place. And I was like, I think that's wrong. And then she's like, is it? And I looked at the deal. I'm like, oh, Robbie LaFear's name wasn't on there. Like when it was done.
Dude, they messed that all up.
Yeah.
I couldn't even watch any of that.
Well, Bass, the elites were the same way at Champlain. I don't know if you saw that or not. And I was talking with Harlan. I'm like, of course, the only way in all year we don't know who's going to win. The freaking thing's messed up. So they stopped weigh-in just like they did they stopped St. Clair. Like I was in the bag line and they're like, hold on, we got to wait because Angler of the Year and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, well, every one of these smallmouth are dead now. Every single one of them died because we were all waiting in the bag line. I was weighing in right after Wheeler, and we were like, all right, I'm getting ready to go. So Ramey dumps my fish out, put him in the bag. I am not kidding you. Wheeler talked for 10 minutes, and my fish were out of the water. 10 minutes, just dead. I'm like, unbelievable, because he was done, and he just kept talking and talking and talking. And Ramey and I look at each other like, dude, you've been up there for 10 freaking minutes, and my fish are just non-existent anymore. I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to take pictures of these dead fish now.
It's not like he doesn't get a chance to talk in front of the social media cameras.
Yeah, I know. I was like, all right, I guess I won't talk now and just speed it up.
Yeah, I remember that. I was watching that too. I actually I texted Connor afterwards, and because he was like, he went across the stage really fast and just left. And I can't remember what I texted him, but he was saying that people's fish were dying in the weigh-in line.
He was really bad.
Yeah, that sucks, man.
That's the stuff that doesn't get talked about though either. Like,
no,
you don't think about that until you're living it, and you got the guy in front of you that's talking for even 2 or 3 minutes on stage. I mean,
yeah. I mean, honest to God, just like what Connor did the second day, I did the same thing. I'm like, dude, all these fish are dying. Everybody's in the bag line complaining. I'm like, I'm not going to say much. I was like, I know I'm making the cut. I'll talk tomorrow or something like that. It's like, it kind of sucks because you got friends or family watching and you weigh your fish and you just leave and don't say anything. It's like, it's not because I didn't want to say anything. It's like, because literally people are complaining and the fish are dying. Like, we can't help
it. Did it cost anybody?
The fish?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know. I'm sure because in those weigh-ins, they don't check them until you get to the deal. Like, they don't go like in the I think it's happened to me in the Toyota, like top 10 Toyota. You sit there in your boat and somebody comes and checks your fish while you're waiting because you have your fish in the boat. We all go to the bag line in those deals, and there's 40 of us standing there, and we've got a net with however many fish in those nets with, I know they give you a little oxygen thing, but that sometimes isn't enough. Like, they sit there upside down for 20 minutes and stressed out and they just die.
Right.
But I'm sure it cost several people 4 ounces.
I tell you what, like, I'm going to rant just for 1 second. You guys don't have to comment because you guys are up in that tournament, but the director for those invitationals, or the MC, he's like, so, there's Connor, RIP Mr. Smallmouth. He's so he's so pushy, man. He's like, okay, there's a mic if you guys want to talk. And as soon as the angler picks up the mic, he's like, already, yeah,
yeah.
And he's just rushing you all the time. And
dude, let him talk.
I'm like, yeah, just let him talk for 20 seconds and it'll be over. But he's just boom, boom, boom. And that,
you can't get your full thought out before somebody cuts you off.
That drives me crazy. I mean, I'm sure he's a really good dude, but that's just I get to my nerves.
My experience with Kevin is when he's doing the tournament, I feel like he's trying too hard.
Right.
And then when I've talked to him before, like my wife and 2 sons came to lacrosse last year, which is the last event, and he came up, talked to, like, he was like just me and you talking, came up, talked to us, met Erica, the 2 boys. He was awesome. And it was like, I'm not saying he is trying to put on a show because he's on live TV and he's doing all that stuff. So like he's trying a little too hard, but it's so hard for me to say that because if I were up there, I probably wouldn't be any better, honestly. Like it's like you got to kind of cut him a little slack because that's pretty tough to do. But you're exactly right. Like if you're just listening, it's like, dude, freaking chill just a little. Let the guy talk. I know exactly what you're talking about. And then like he remembers Erica's name and Bodie and Everett. And every time I go up there, he's like, you got your 2 boys at home and we're talking, all that stuff. I'm like, he's a really good dude. It's just like, man, some of the stuff, it's like, where did that even come from?
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. I think he's
you hit the nail.
Some people try to support what the person's saying by just giving them verbal support each time they say something. He's like, yeah, that's right. And then, and it's
making it awkward.
It just makes it too choppy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, I get
right.
he's a good dude, but
we all see it. We all see that.
Well, let's go through the rest of these real quick, and then we got some more questions, and then we'll wind it down. Champlain. Oh man,
giant
those northern smallmouth. That's just insane. I cannot imagine. I've only been to Mille Lacs. That's the only experience I've had with those smallmouth, and it was just unbelievable.
I was same with Crock and I before we went there. We've been to Mille Lacs. I've been there twice, and he's been there once.
Yeah, that's a good time.
So that Champlain, is that just
it's so big. Like, I mean, you got
it's like 300,000 acres,
dude. Yeah, I mean, like you look at one side of the lake and you're like, all right, I'll drive to that point, and it's like you've been driving for 8 minutes. It's like, how far is that point away from me? And then you get there, you're like, I just ran 15 miles.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
That place is huge. That's got to. I mean, I would love to spend a lot of time up there because after watching the elites there, it's just. I mean, you can go catch largemouth, smallmouth. You can catch them in 40 foot of water. You can catch a largemouth in 2 foot of water. It's like the all-around dream lake, I would say. Yeah. If I had time to just go fun fishing there and figure out largemouth as well, it would be fun.
Looks like they got some really good largemouth.
Yeah, they smashed them. The elites smashed them.
Yeah, it was fun to watch.
we went at like the worst time possible, I think, because they were like just getting done. Like, because I caught all spawners, like looking at them, and I caught some giant ones that would weigh barely 4 pounds or like under 4 pounds, even like giants. Like they look like they should be 6 pounds, but they were there for freaking 2 weeks, and then those fish were just super skinny and leaving, and the ones that were out there leaving, they still weren't very big. So it was like you were like right in between spawn and post spawn type deal, to where the largemouth didn't play at all when we were there either.
Like I was catching fry garters there. Brad was on the old flogger, and I flogged like one time and seen one. I said, yeah, this is cool, but I can just go down the bank and catch these. I think on the big boulders, just if you cast at it enough, then you're eventually going to get them. And I think I literally, on the day one of practice, I found a little stretch with like 40 boulders, and I caught one on every single rock there. And on game day, I showed up to it, and I swear I caught all the same fish again that were fry garden.
Huh.
It was pretty wild.
That's nuts, man.
But then after that, it was like dwindling. Like he said, there wasn't that many fry garters or spawners left. So I went out and just started roaming where I seen them around grass. And I kind of got lucky and ran into them kind of just out there suspending over the grass and chasing shad and stuff. And threw a Demiki rig, couldn't get him to bite it. Started throwing a single swim bait with like 2 hours left, and culled out every single fish I had with a single swim bait. They did not want the shaken Demiki rig. They just wanted a single swim bait. It was weird.
So with the waves, when you're flogging, do you have a snorkel too?
Brad got a good.
So the first day, I've had the Garmin trolling motor for ever, and I didn't get spot lock on it. I didn't program it because I don't ever use spot lock, like never use spot lock. And I was out there trying to flog, and even 1 foot waves out there is an absolute freaking nightmare trying to flog. You've got the flogger in one hand, you've got your rod in the other hand, you're sitting there and getting your brains beat in by the flogger, and then you've got the waves hitting you in the face the whole time, and it's like, do I stick my face in this thing as hard as I can and push it in the water, but then you're going like this the whole time? Or do I sit there with the flogger like this and just wear the freaking waves to the face, or what the heck do I do? And then Harlan called me and we were talking, and I said something. He's like, Brock's probably out there flogging too. I'm like, dude, Brock ain't flogging at all. I can promise you that. And we get home, and he's like, dude, I looked at one fish, and I said, nope, I ain't doing this. I go home. I'm like, I told you. I knew he was not going to do this. It was a nightmare. That's honestly the hardest thing I've ever done fishing. Seriously.
I probably would have yacked everywhere.
Well, it helps because the fish bite. If you're sitting there working a fish for 5 minutes and it's not biting, dude, it is so freaking hard. Like, people don't understand how much of a workout that is. And to find those fish, like, you're not sight fishing. Like, you have a flogger in your hand, and that's things like this big around, like a basketball, and you're trying to find fish in 12 to 14 foot of water with that thing in the waves. A lot of people don't understand how hard that is.
But it's not like you can look like out.
No, straight down.
It's straight down or nothing.
Straight down.
Yep.
Okay.
You can't look around like everywhere. You got to look just straight there.
So would it be better to have like goggles and a snorkel? I mean,
yes, it probably.
I don't know if that's legal. That's a good idea. I wonder if that is legal.
As long as you're in your boat, you're doing the same thing, right?
I wonder if you could do that.
Your rib would be beat up from on the side of your boat.
Get you like a
raw.
A couch cushion, like some of the roofers got, so they stay up on the roofs.
Yeah.
So you get like an old couch cushion laying over the side
with your snorkel.
I wonder if you can do that.
That is a good idea, though. Why?
We're about to make $1 million right here if we keep talking.
So hold on. So you have your cleats, right, that you tie off to. Just tie a couple ropes on there. Get some arm hooks where you can hang on to it.
Put them around your waist.
$1 million idea, guys.
Yeah,
dude, you nailed it.
That'd be a lot easier.
It's the new flogging kit. Two marine ropes, a snorkel, and some goggles.
Sell it for $100, $99.99.
I'm taking two things so far away from the 2024 invitational season, Brad. You've learned the beauty of a flogger and the importance of a butt seat.
Yes. Yeah. Both smallmouth fishing.
That's what it's all about, man.
You overlook things. I promise you, I will never not have a butt seat up there again, smallmouth fishing. Promise you. I actually dare you to go to St. Clair next year in July without a butt seat on a Saturday. Do it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
You're surfing. It's literally
surfing.
So it's worse than the Ozarks?
The problem is on the Ozarks, or compared to the Ozarks, is you have to be out there in the middle of the lake chasing the fish on live scope. Like, you're not sitting there fishing. You're sitting there chasing them around.
Did your pumps ever stop running?
Gosh, dude, there was multiple times I had waves, a couple inches of water in the bottom of my boat because it would just come over the back.
Well, I saw Iaconelli had he put an extra like 1,500 gallons per hour bilge pump in the bottom of his boat.
Yeah, he's preparing to go out there in freaking Atlantic Ocean, it looked like.
Yeah.
They do that.
Fast. He must have been eating a lot of waves.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I think that's standard upgrade for those Great Lakes fishermen is they all have like 3 or 4 bilge pumps in the boat.
Yeah.
You know, it's just you just got to have it or you sink your boat out there.
Well, all it takes is one, right? Like you get one rogue wave that when you're flogging that catches you over the side or not even paying attention and it just woof. Now you got 400 gallons of water in the bottom of your boat.
Yeah, and if you can't get your boat up, you know that water is going to slow your boat down. It's going to slow the.
Yeah, you're not going to get it out.
You can't get your nose up. You're just going to take another one over, and then you're swamped.
Plane. I think I hit one wave, and it literally put like a foot of water in my boat with one wave.
Yeah,
put a whole foot of water.
Well, Iaconelli had like 2 hooks that he bolted to the boat so he could strap the trolling motor down to keep it from rolling up too. Like it's got to get. I guess it gets really, really wicked out there. Yeah, some people just drive really, really hard.
Brad, what happened to you? Did your trolling motor deploy in the Miracle Mile or what?
No, it was in the mouth of Anchor Bay.
But it just deployed while you were running?
Yeah, you know when you hit one of those, like a wave hits the side of the boat and it kind of shocks the boat?
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. And like the trolling motor, like you would have to step on the top of it to deploy it, like because it would be locked in there so tight. So like this wave hit the side of my boat just perfect enough and the thing deployed. And it was on my way back on day 3. And I have 2 transducers on the front and you have the trolling motor cables in there. So you can't just rip it off. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to cut my transducers. Like I'll just finish 30th place, I guess. But I figured out that I could fit my rod strap around the prop on the trolling motor and cinch it down. And I ran back with it in a rod or on my rod strap.
So you couldn't get it to stay back down.
No, it
broke it. It snapped it.
Yeah, like snapped it clean in half.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really cool.
So that doesn't make what Iaconelli did sound real stupid by putting 2 extra hooks up there to put a ratchet strap on the trolling motor.
Oh, that was for the trolling motor?
Yeah, he had it. So he had 2 hooks on the left and the right side of it so you could strap it down.
I seen Avina. He had just a ratchet strap around his whole deal. Just a little ratchet strap.
Dude, yeah, like
the whole deal.
The problem,
that's a good idea.
Like Kentucky Lake, you know how rough it gets there?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Like crazy rough. It's not the same rough. Like these waves are coming from all different directions. And like you can't drive through them. Like you're just wearing it. And that's why they call it the Miracle Mile there, because it's basically you're in a river and you've got a bunch of giant yachts running back and forth and they're not flat banks. So like those waves can't push on the banks. They just ricochet off the walls and they keep coming back and forth at you, and you're just like, it's like a washing machine. It's actually, you just get the crap beat out of you. It sucks.
Have you seen that Hollover Inlet? Is it kind of like that?
I don't think I've seen that.
Look that up on YouTube. It's
I know what you're talking about.
I think it's coming out of either the Gulf or one of the.
Yeah, and it's going into the ocean there.
It looks
like
miserable.
that. Yeah, it's like that.
Oh, that's fun.
Maybe not that gnarly because those are some big boats.
Yeah,
there and getting beat up. But yeah, it's like that. It's just like that.
Couldn't imagine. Could not imagine.
Yeah, those are fun to watch on YouTube or whatever.
Detroit River.
Wrap it up with the Detroit River.
Freaking got a rogue cat out here fighting my cats.
Oh, really?
I saw you went on mute. I figured you had something going on.
Man, they sound crazy when cats.
Oh yeah, it's not good. One of them's
Creepy, man. It's usually like 1 or 2 in the morning too when they do that.
Yeah, it's this chick cat that comes around here and fights our oldest one all the time.
Yeah.
A wally cat.
Yeah.
So talk about the Detroit River.
We're locked in at Anchor Bay. I mean, all the hype was in Anchor Bay, so I think all 4 of us hunkered down in Anchor Bay for probably 80% of practice, I would say.
Yeah. The first day of practice, I went exploring out there in the abyss and caught a bunch of fish, but Brock and Harlem were catching 900 pounds in Anchor Bay. Like, literally, I put the trolling motor in the water, first spot in Anchor Bay. I caught a 4, another one almost 4, and another nice one. And I was like, all right. And then I left. I was like, dude, this place is gonna get crushed in here. Like, everybody's gonna be in here. I'm gonna go try to find something in the middle of the lake, and spent the whole first day doing that. And it was not very. I mean, it was like 17 or 18 pounds out there, which gets you a handshake. Thanks for trying.
So I pre-practiced there, and they're still kind of spawning. But man, I was on the Canadian side, and I could catch fish, like a lot more fish, but it was just 2 to 3 pounders. But I caught like 1 million of them. Anchor Bay was more, you hunker down, and it was like catch a giant, go an hour, catch a giant, go an hour, catch a giant kind of deal. Like, we weren't, I mean, I don't know about you, Brad, but I wasn't catching a bunch in Anchor Bay. I was just catching enough, but like if you did catch 5, it was over 20 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, the second day of practice I was in there, I probably caught 19 pounds, but I didn't catch a big, like a 5 pound, like a 4.5, 5 pounder. I just didn't see that class fish. And then the third day, I started to kind of like get in my little zone, and then I started figuring out where the big ones were. And then I caught like over 23 pounds the third day. And I was like, okay, I think I figured out what they're doing. And then the first day of the tournament, I pulled it to my first stop, caught like a 4 something, another 4, and then another nice one. I had like 18 pounds pretty quick. And then I went to my other little spot where they were roaming on clean bottom, and there was a bunch of fish there, but they weren't biting. I was like, screw it. I've seen a couple big ones in this little spot. Like, I'm just going to go mill around and see what I see. And I see one down there, and it's a freaking giant one. And I'm like, dude, if that's a bass, that's a big one. I pitched to it, and it was that 5.5 pounder, which actually got big bass the first day. And then like 5 minutes later, I caught another big one, and I was like, okay, don't leave this little zone here, because I don't know if it had to do with the grass growing a certain way or the bait being there or what it was, but it was just holding bigger fish. And that was a big deal, like, because there was a ton of guys in there doing the same thing, but only catching 17 pounds, which I could have very easily done if I didn't figure out what the bigger ones were doing. And like he said, like, you weren't catching 24 pounders. You were catching 4 to 5 4+ pounders, but for me, they were in little sections, and that's just where they were at. I don't know. I couldn't tell you why exactly, but after the second day, I was pretty dialed on two little zones there.
Mine was all bait, I think. Bait and then like hard bottom mixed with grass patches.
Dude, I swear you found a shad spawn. I really believe you did.
Could have been. But they were there in the mornings for sure.
Yeah, because I did not catch anything like that. And you said it was only a morning bite. And you said bait was there. I was like, dude, I think you found a shad spawn then.
Huh. That's pretty cool. A northern shad spawn.
Yeah, I saw because the way he was explaining it, I'm like, it sounds like a shad spawn.
It's pretty ridiculous. The morning, I mean, the first hour was pretty wild, and then it went to not very good.
Yeah, I was catching them late. My bigger ones were coming, like my 4.5+ pounders were definitely later in the day. And it sucked.
How were the fish? Were they responding well to your baits and stuff? I mean, because you're looking at them. What do you think your catch ratio was to cast to catch ratio?
Here's what I thought about the whole, or I even told your dad this, Brad. I was like, well, if you can get around, like they're either super dumb, like you throw it in there and it starts dropping and they're already on it and got it, or they're super smart to where they would just look at you and just keep looking at you the whole time. Huh. And I was even telling Harlan, I'm probably casting at 10 of them before I get one to bite. But then you run into it like the super dumb ones and you throw it in there, and as soon as it makes a splash, that sucker's running 20 yards away to come get it.
Yeah.
Wow.
It doesn't matter how big that fish was. Was it like little dumb ones or was it big dumb ones?
No, my biggest ones were the dumbest ones, I would say.
Yeah,
they need to start breeding with largemouth.
Yeah, everybody loves big dumb ones.
Yeah,
we get some big dumb largemouth.
Yeah,
nobody wants a smart one.
And then you got the ones, that you throw out there, it hits the bottom, and then you see them mosey off the bottom and come over there, and you're like, please. And you see a lot of that, and a lot of them don't bite, but some of them will bite it.
Yeah.
But a lot of those were like, 70% non-biters.
Yeah.
If they're on the bottom, on the floor looking at it, you're like, this could be or not be.
Did anybody see Keith Carson winning that? I didn't. That was a shocker for me. I mean, it was cool, but it was just kind of a shock. And the way he was doing it, I guess, was even more shocking.
Yeah, right.
And he explained it just how, like, I was catching him. Like, he even said as soon as it hit the water, they were like, on it. And he wasn't catching that many either, is what he was saying. So he was around the right ones.
The bigger class fish, you were not seeing a ton of them.
No.
But when you got around them, you'd have an area and you can mill around and catch them.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, it seemed like I could catch them pretty early, and then I caught them really good late. And I didn't know how rough it was going to be. So the first day, Brock drove by, and you had an early weigh in the first day, didn't you?
Yeah. He
drove by. He's like, dude, I ain't risking. I'm going. And I'm like, fuck, I got like 21 pounds. I probably need to go too. So I'm like, waiting. I'm like, all right, I'm going to leave. I literally got back 50 minutes early, and I was so mad because they just started biting again. And I'm like, all right, next day I'll kind of wait a little longer. I'm like, if I have 20 pounds, and I'm not going to push it, but if I have like 17, I'm going to force it. I have like 21 pounds, and I'm like, dude, you're making the cut. You're getting 10 grand. Like, don't force it. Get back 40 minutes early. I'm like, gosh, dang it. And the third day, I'm like, I'm pushing it. And trolling motor deploys. I make it back with 1 freaking minute left. I'm like, I literally made it back at 2:20. Well, I guess 2 minutes because you get 2:30 in like 59 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, the whole reason that first day, since I was broke down, I was like, man, I can't afford this thing to break down and then not get back.
Yeah, and I mean, I was just thinking about the Miracle Mile. I'm like, dude, I have no idea how rough it's going to be, and no idea for how long, because Anchor Bay was rolling, and I'm like, if it's something like this, I need to get back now, but it was not. And then for some, like Lake of the Ozarks on Sundays, it's rough, but it ain't near what it is on a Saturday, not even close. So I was like, okay, Sunday might be a little less because that's how it is at home. No, if you catch the Miracle Mile at the right time, it is treacherous.
Rather sporty, eh?
you just can't dodge the waves. It's just you're going 15 miles an hour just wearing it.
That's a lot of time to leave on the table, man.
That sounds miserable too.
Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible. And that's what was frustrating, was because I left so early those first. I know I could have had an opportunity, another 4.5 pounder both of those days if I didn't leave. I left an hour and 40 minutes on the table, hour and a half on the table, but like I didn't know, like I couldn't.
Yeah,
we took out at the worst place possible. Like the guy didn't want us there.
Look at the difference though, Brad. Like, what if you left? Say you left an hour and 40 minutes on the table. You got back. You said that first day you were 15 minutes early. What if you waited another 20 minutes and it got just wicked?
Yeah,
you're exactly right.
A prop or something, right. Throw it on your prop.
Yeah. And that is true. That's what I said to myself on day 2. I'd rather be mad that I'm early than mad that I'm late.
Yeah,
that's why I was like, okay.
Yeah, you still got cards to play at that point. If you,
I mean, there could have been 25 50-foot pleasure boaters dumping in at the same time you came through that mile. If you'd have waited 20 more minutes, it would have been crazy,
Harlan, we got home and he's like, dude, how about that Miracle Mile? I'm like, it was not that bad. Like, not as bad as I thought. And he's like, you are crazy. I'm like, dude, I'm just telling you, I don't know if I caught it at the right time or what. Because I literally got back in about the same amount of time as it took me to get there. And it was rough getting there the first day. Like, the wind was blowing way harder than they said it was going to blow. So the second day, it started to get rough. And then the third day, I told her, I'm like, dude, I must have timed it like exactly what you're talking about. Perfect for those boats to not be in there, because the third day was terrible. He's like,
are you in the same kind of boat as Harlan?
No, he's in a Camus and I'm in a Phoenix.
You should have said it was just the Phoenix, man.
Yeah, I guess. It was funny because the second day he was 40 boats ahead of me, and I ended up catching him in St. Clair, and I passed him or whatever, and he's like, dude, I don't know how many boats I passed coming up here, but it was a lot. He said, you had to have passed 100 boats to catch up to me, and just trotting along there.
So here's a serious question. Of all the lakes that you guys fished this year on the Invitationals, which one would you say is most likely to have some sort of a Sasquatch population around the surrounding areas?
I know my answer, and it's pretty easy for me.
Sasquatch?
Yeah.
Rayburn.
Rayburn?
You say Rayburn? I say Champlain.
Champlain?
Yeah.
I
was thinking the northern
where we stayed at Sam Rayburn is where I would say.
What'd you say?
The place we stayed seemed like it had a Sasquatch.
I found us a nice, cozy Airbnb.
A little squatchy.
So
it was just the backyard. The backyard looked Sasquatchy.
It's funny to us just because we were there and lived it, so it might not be as funny for you guys. But when my dad, you have to know my family. My uncle is an absolute just riot. He is hilarious. And then one of my best friends, his name's we call him Reno. And when you get those two together, it is, I can't even put it into words. Just there's 150 beers drank in like 2.5 days, and I think I drank.
So you did see a Sasquatch then, or he did?
I'm telling you, a freaking riot. It was so much fun, and so that's about that goes to show how much fishing we got done. 150 beers in 2.5 days.
No wonder you don't like getting up so early in the morning,
dude.
Shit, you're drunk.
It was. I wasn't I drank some, but not what they did. And anyway, this place we're generally staying. It's for the week $400 or $500 a person, like decent little place, enough room for parking. We got this place for like $140 a person for the week.
Solid.
Nice.
And this dog, it would be, so we got this guy in Warsaw who's cross-eyed, and we call his Ronnie, and we call him cross-eyed Ronnie. And we were one morning, this dog was looking through our screen door, and just staring in there at us. It's the dude, the owner's dog, and it's not a husky, but it's like a white looking husky or yellow looking husky, and this dog is so cross-eyed, it's not even funny. And it's looking one direction, and the other eye's looking the completely other direction. And it's just one of those things. It just catches you off guard because you just look at the door, and this cross-eyed dog is just staring at you this whole time. So we named him Little Ronnie. So every time, so we call that Little Ronnie's house now. And this place is nice.
Shout out to cross-eyed Ronnie.
Will you stay there again?
Absolutely.
Oh, if I ever went back there, I'd want to only stay there.
Yes. So cheap. There's a boat ramp right there. You got nice dogs. You got Lil Ronnie and Sheba. And it's a good time. And apparently Sasquatches.
I'm sure the Little Ronnie would be happy to see you guys again.
Oh, guarantee you. Especially
hold on. Did you feed Little Ronnie any beer?
Oh, everything. Anything imaginable, Lil Ronnie ate.
He's part of the crew, man.
It didn't fix his problem.
No, probably made it worse.
We do have a winner.
Short Cast Fishing 199. Congratulations. Hit me up on Facebook at Gabe Montgomery Fishing, or 10 Horse Monty, Instagram 10 Horse Monty 6. And
how many people watched or were on the live? There's a lot of comments for those numbers.
Yeah,
it rolls. Fortunately it was quick, and I didn't have to get Little Ronnie and get cross-eyed.
Yeah.
He won a $25 Baitworks gift card. So I forgot to announce what people were actually
just pick is it pick a number between 1 and whatever?
Yeah, 1 and 200. 1 and 2. We just wrote a number down here. I didn't tell you guys that, but
dude, there's a lot of comments on those numbers.
Yeah, these are all people that knew what the heck was up. Normally I make an announcement, but we got a lot of regulars on here.
Dave's cheating. He commented.
How do you see the comments?
On the right, it says private chat and comments.
Yeah.
There's a couple times I'd read one, I just laugh. Before we get off here, Dave, I read one of Dave's comments. I think it's a pretty good one. It was like kind of what was the difference between this year and last year, and like how much more successful we were in fishing this year. I just kind of thinking about that myself. It's just, I feel like once you kind of do this 1 year, you kind of know what to expect and kind of know the standard. Like you go into these tournaments thinking something like maybe the cut's going to be 22 pounds or it's going to be 22 pounds. But like in reality, you're like, no, if the cut is this way, we have to catch like 2 more pounds in that way, and like set your expectations higher. And then in practice, I feel like you cannot go to these lakes and run around like a chicken with your head cut off. Like you can't go to Champlain and try to fish half the lake in a day, in 3 days. You can't. So like you have to like pick an area and just grind. And then once you kind of figure out how to catch fish in that area, then just expand on it. Like you go to these places and these guys, everybody catches them, that like top 30 guys, and 90% of the time you don't see those guys fishing. So there's fish all over, but what they're good at is getting in their area and milling around and figuring out all the little subtleties and catching the fish in those areas. And I feel like that's what we did really well this year. Like we got on the lake, we didn't freak out and run around everywhere. We just kind of got in our little zones, whether it was by each other or within 30 miles of each other. That's just kind of what we did. And just being confident and catching fish and knowing that you can compete at that level and knowing that you can beat those guys. Because if you go in there, it's just like anything you do in life, especially like in golf. Like if you go up there and thinking like, don't hosel shank this ball, you're going to freaking shank it. Like it's just what it is. Like if you know you're going to hit the green, it's like, all right, I'm going to hit this green. You're probably going to hit the green. It's like fishing. Like I know I can catch these fish. I'm going to be confident I'm going to catch these fish. If you're out there like, dude, I ain't going to catch them, blah, 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 then it's like just being negative and you're not going to catch them.
You're out of it before you even started.
Yes, 100%.
There's no betting that goes off on your off days, is there, in that golf game?
What's that?
There's no money exchange in that golf game on your.
We always bet, but they don't ever pay me.
They don't ever pay me.
It's funny. I love it.
Yeah.
It's more just like a $5, $10 deal or buy the beer type deal.
Yeah.
Well, you always hear people say that if you go into a tournament just fishing for a check, that top 50 cut or whatever,
I don't think that's possible. You got to fish to win.
Yeah, right.
Like what he said, if you know the weights are 20 pounds, go for 22, practice for 22.
Yeah.
Like you can't go there and catch 18 and be like, oh, I'm doing all right. They might cash me a check. Chances are you ain't getting paid.
Nah.
You got to go for a big bag every single time.
When people say they're going to catch them, it's like, okay, well, they're going to catch them, then I'm going to be a part of that, and I'm going to catch them then.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just – like, those guys are good, but you cannot go into those events fishing for 50th place. Like, you have to know you can compete and be at that top level. Otherwise, you're screwed.
I'm doing the St. Lawrence River Toyota next week or something with Anthony, and I've been researching. I'm like, okay, if you ain't got over 20 pounds for 3 days straight, you might as well not even show up. So the goal is to catch over 20 at least one day in practice to know you can do it and compete. Like if you ain't seeing big ones, then I mean there ain't no reason to even be out there.
Yeah, that's another thing too, is like understanding the situation. Like you can't go to Champlain and be on 14 pounds and practice for those fish for 3 days. It's like, okay, I have not seen a big one in 2 days. I need to change something. Like I need to go do something different. And then you have to realize you're doing the wrong thing. You can't
like you at Sam Rayburn, knowing, okay, I've seen a big one. You haven't seen a big one. I'm going to go try what he's doing. Okay, now we're both on the same page and we have a chance to catch over 18, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And then like West Point, the expectations there were a lot lower than any other derby we fished because we did our research and said, dang, 13 pounds is like really good here. So if you can catch 11, that's pretty good. But if you can catch 15, that's amazing. So let's set our goal 15 plus on that one.
Yeah, and it worked out. I mean, you guys had a really solid season. Is it invitationals next year for you guys?
I don't know. I'm kind of waiting on the bass schedule, honestly, for the opens. If the open schedule looks, because there was a point I was about to fish the opens this year. I'm very glad I didn't, because what I learned this year, I'm glad we all fished the invitationals this year, because like whether we ask each other, we're gonna ask each other for help, but like we're not gonna be in each other's business asking each other for help. Like I feel like we got really, really good respect for each other to like not go try to catch each other's fish, but maybe like get a little tip here and there, or like what not to do even. And I feel like having that is a big deal too, which was a big reason for success this year as well. And if you don't have that on these lakes that you've never been to and being on your own, it's really tough. So I feel like what I learned on like all these lakes this year, it's gonna be really good for me in the long haul. And I'm glad I fished the invitationals this year. I'm glad that Brock and Harlan and Austin all fished them too, because I mean, whether we asked each other or didn't work together we still work together. It's just how it is, like just kind of feeding off each other, like how practice is going type deal. So I'm glad I fished invitationals this year. But my goal in life, I want to fish the elites. Like I feel like that's the deal.
I want to go to the classic.
Yeah, that'd be so sweet, man.
And I believe, I know it's going to be freaking really hard, but I firmly believe that there's no reason we can't do it. I'm not saying we're going to just get it handed to us, but like I believe that we have the abilities to do that. And I feel like if we all go there and feed off each other like we did this year, then there's a chance. I mean, but there's only one way to find out. And if the schedule looks good, I feel like I would love to try the opens for
I'm in
at least a year, you know.
I was gonna say, is that a group decision that you guys try to make together as a?
Yeah,
a
because Brad last year he was talking opens, and I think Austin might have been, and then Harlan talked us all into doing the invitationals since we were already like established there, and Harlan made some good points on that, and we're like, all right, we'll do it. But
Yeah.
Brad was pretty on the opens, and then after this year, now I'm more leaning. I'm with you on the opens. Like I'd rather do the opens.
Yeah, it's a tough way. I mean, it's a tough way to do it. Bass fishing in general, unfortunately, is very expensive. But it's expensive. You want to. What is your end goal? Like, is your end goal to be on the BPT? Or is your end goal to be on the elite? Which one is it? And
classic is that's what I've been thinking ever since we at Hartwell. I'm like, why are we even in the MLF right now?
Yeah, I mean,
I want to go to the classic.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, that's it right there.
And the BPTs, they're changing their rules all the time. You know, they're going from 80 to 65 to 50.
I mean,
I've always wondered what the draw was for you guys fishing the invitationals. Like,
it was mostly because we've been doing the BFLs and stuff, and we got our name out there through the MLF, and we just kind of went that route.
Kind of the natural progression.
Yeah.
Well, dude, honestly, too, the year that we qualified, it was still good. I mean, they still had a championship. They still paid 75 places. It was still, you could make a living on it. And literally that year, they changed everything. Like, they started paying 50 guys. They started paying $2,000 less for those 50 guys. They took the championship away. Like, they left. I bet we lost, I mean, tens of thousands of dollars because of that. Like, 2 championships, 5 checks. Because
and
of
then
that.
Next year it's getting even a little worse. I mean, you get a championship, but through those 6 events is going to be even worse than this year.
Yeah, so we're in a tough spot.
Well, you got the invitationals are. I mean, just like the bass, it's not any secret that the opens are doing the same thing, but you're funding the top level guys.
Yeah. The cool thing about the opens. The one thing I don't like, I wish there was a championship like Toyotas, but that's not what the purpose of the opens are. But now, I think a really cool thing is what they're doing. They're paying the EQ Angler of the Year guys. So, like, if you win AOY, you get it's like $40,000 or $50,000, and if you get second, it's a little less. Third, it's a little less. It's like you're getting funds for doing really well. It's Angler of the Year stuff.
That's
like another tournament.
It's going to help you in the elites a little bit.
Yeah, so if you finish in the top 9, you are getting paid extra money, and as you finish in the top 5, you get paid even more money, and it goes towards your stuff for the next year. So you're going to spend less money in the opens overall, and have a chance to still break even. Which we make a check in every event this year, and we broke like even, and maybe a little bit of money, but it's crazy. So, but the goal is the elite. So hopefully it's a good schedule and it suits our eye, and we all want to do that. That'd be the goal.
When does that come out? Do you know?
It's got to be soon.
Yeah.
September, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
They got 2 more left or something like that.
Yeah.
They leave for Leech Lake on Friday.
Yeah.
So they got like 1 more month. The end of September, we'll know, I think. Or middle of September.
And then you got to get your deposits and stuff in.
That's like
soon,
November.
huh?
November for the deposits.
Okay.
Same for the invitationals, but
luckily I'm rich.
Yeah, bunch of rich.
Go back to your wallet.
If there's any sponsors out there looking for a little spot on my boat wrap for next year.
On your t-shirt there. A little spot on your t-shirt.
I got a couple cats for you guys if you want sponsor cats.
Can we I guess we could shave a logo in the side of a cat.
There you go.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to hold a cat long enough to shave it, I mean, that's got to be worth something.
$200, we'll shave the cat.
You could video that, and you could probably make a killing off of that. That or PETA's going to come after you, and you'll be broke as a joke by the time you.
No, you'd spend all your money at the hospital.
Yeah, right.
Get cat scratch fever, start chasing your neighbor around. It's a real thing, cat scratch fever.
Let's not get that.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's wrap it up. That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Appreciate you guys.
I appreciate you guys taking time out of your evening and hanging out with us.
It's pretty crazy because I think this is the second one I've done with you guys. And the first one, it was like an hour and something. And I got done. I'm like, holy crap, we were on the phone for an hour and something. And I couldn't believe it. And now this one's 2 hours and 14 minutes. It's like, dang, that flies.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun, man. Just get on here, talk about fishing. And
it's talking fishing, what we like to talk about.
Well, what do you guys do after you get off the water in the afternoons or in the evenings? Like you sit around and you talk fishing.
Talk a little fishing.
Yeah,
pretty much.
We just put it on YouTube.
Just sharing it with everybody else out there.
Yep, smart. You guys are a lot smarter than us.
Yeah, no shit.
That's all him. That ain't me.
Yeah, I just got to do something creative, or it drives me nuts. I used to play music all the time, like played in a bunch of bands and stuff. And then when I had kids, I kind of got a little bit out of that, just because I don't know. It's you're usually out until like 1 or 2 or 3 in the morning, and it just, I don't know. I'm lucky to have my job, to be quite honest with you, because I definitely tested my job when I was a little bit younger. But so I still need that creative outlet, and that's kind of what the YouTube stuff. It's still like a creative outlet for me. It keeps me sane, and makes me feel like I'm
doing something productive. It gives you a purpose to go fishing too. Everyone.
Yeah, exactly. I can. I'm actually working when I go fishing. I'm shooting video and content, and I can tell my wife that I'm actually working. I'm bringing in a small smidgen of income, so it is sort of a job in a way.
I gotta go on the lake, honey. I'm working.
Yeah, I got work to do.
I see what you're doing.
I'm crafty, and I'm sharing information with all these fine folks that are watching the channel.
That's right.
Yeah, just trying to spread the love.
Good for you guys.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts, shout outs, anything like that before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I'm gonna beat Brad next tournament, fair and square.
Right here.
Yep.
Thanks for everybody watching. Appreciate it. That's awesome. Thanks for you guys doing this. We really appreciate it. Anything helps whenever it comes to the old fishing. So we appreciate you guys for doing this.
Yeah, I'm really glad you guys hung out with us and stuff. It was a good conversation. Got to hear about floggers, got to hear about butt seats, got to hear about road cats and 157 beers or whatever that was. You usually stop at 99 bottles of beer in a while, but you just kept on going, man.
We like to keep it competitive and catch fish, but we also like to have a good time.
That's right.
You got to have a good time. You got to have fun. All right, we're out of here. Thanks for everybody for hanging out. We do this every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Hope to see you guys next week. Tight lines and wear your life vest.
Yeah.